Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, gang? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Monday's shows are always packed. This one, certainly no exception. The Winnipeg Jets are in first place, and you'd think we'd all be all fired up. I think most people are, but it comes with a major concern, and that, of course, is the Winnipeg Jets leading goal scorer Kyle Connor, injured last night in a knee-on-knee hit, left the game, and we are still awaiting an update from the Winnipeg Jets on the condition of Kyle and how long he might be out. But what a weekend it was for the Jets. They didn't play on Friday or Saturday. Saturday, everything fell in their favor with Colorado, Dallas, Nashville, Phoenix, or Arizona, and St. Louis all losing in regulation. And with their win last night in Anaheim, a stirring comeback win in the third period, the Winnipeg Jets are first place in the Central. So we're going to be all over that for the first part of the show. Mike McIntyre is going to join us from San Jose a little bit later on. We're also going to be talking about Shohei Ohtani and what took place after our show on Friday, leading into Saturday, when we all got the notification that he was signing for $700 million, and the Dodgers, and the questions that come out of this. What happened? Did the Jays and all Canadian baseball fans get played? And who can we really trust in the media anymore after what happened heading into the weekend? The very entertaining Johnny Giunta from the Gate 14 pod in Toronto is going to jump on with us. He is a high-energy individual. And I was thinking about getting a media guy, but I'd way rather have someone that sort of is connected with the fans as anyone. And that is Johnny. He'll jump on with us later on this hour before we bring in Mike. And then we're going to get back to another Monday Roundtable. There's lots to get to coming out of the National Football League. Anyone that jumped in on the lock shop saw a rant from yours truly that you don't see very often anymore. That was like H&L Day, Huss. We're going to talk about the ending of the Chiefs-Bills game, the Cowboys' big win last night. Connor Hrabchak's going to jump on, and I know he's fired up about the Niners as to where they're at. And, of course, the highlight of the entire weekend, the Minnesota Vikings, thrilling 3-0 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. So we have lots to get to today. It should be a packed show. Great to have you all with us. Big shout out to the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Our friends at Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Jets, Royal Sports and Boston Pizza, Nick and Nicky DQ, F Apparel, Vita Health, Wallace & Wallace, Modern Man Barbershop, Aquatech, Manitoba Battery, and the great taste of Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. And we will get to a why not question of the day for our friends over at Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's get Michael Remis in here. And Remo, I don't even know where to start. Well, I do know where to start. The first place Winnipeg Jets, but and I've talked to so many fans today, as excited as everyone is with the winning streak the team is on and where they're at in the standings. There is a bit of a sense of dread, I think, right now, awaiting a report on just the status of Kyle Connor after that knee-on-knee hit from Ryan Strome last night in Anaheim.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Happy Monday. And yeah, I mean, I think that game was awesome. You're down 2-0 and Connor's hurt. You're like, oh man, this isn't going well. But to use a Rick Bonus term, pushback, a lot of pushback from the Jets. I think getting a quick one right after from Nino, absolutely huge. And then it's only a 1-goal game and you got plenty of time, and they were able to get tied up quickly. And about Gabe Villar, I've been saying, I'm picking him has to score like the last couple games. Finally got in position to tip a Josh Morrissey shot in, and yeah, the Jets won. They're in first place. I remember last year there was so much hype about them being in first. That was actually in January. I checked out our Instagram post. I remember it was very successful. If I wanted to do some engagement farming, I could do that again. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a cloud over the game with Kyle Connor. He's the team's leading goal scorer. Looked like a bad hit, and I don't know. I think like best case scenario, he's out 4 to 6 weeks here, right? So we're kind of holding our breath and waiting and seeing. Or is the best case scenario like he's fine and plays the next game? That's the.
I saw a doctor tweet out
Yeah.
that was watching the game last night.
I saw it.
I mean, there's a wide range of this. If it's I think he suggested it's probably something to do with the ACL. Now, don't quote me on this. ACL,
He said
MCL.
MCL.
There was MCL.
Yeah.
So, best case scenario is he'd be day to day. I think the next case scenario is probably in the 4 to 6 weeks, and then the worst case scenario is that he would be out long term for the Winnipeg Jets, and that would just be brutal for obvious reasons. I mean, he's having another incredible season. He's 2 off the NHL goal scoring lead. And, Reem, throughout the last few years when, there have been injuries and at times the lineup's been depleted, Kyle Connor's been the constant. I mean, he is a guy that just simply hasn't gotten hurt before. He's so important to that top line. He is so important to the power play. I think we all agree that we've seen from the start of the season right through till last night, I mean, a much deeper team that, hopefully can handle the loss of a superstar like Connor for a little bit longer. But there's no doubt that if KFC is out for any extended period of time, that is that'll be a real bitter pill to swallow from a play that I think most people watching this show would agree was dirty and has no place in hockey. And oh, by the way, for those of you that were waiting for supplemental discipline, there will be none.
Yeah, and just on Kyle Connor's durability, yeah, he hasn't really missed any games. He had, he missed a game because of with COVID, when that was going on, and yeah, 82 games in 18-19. What, he played 71 in 19-20. You look at all the stats, Huss, they're all mangled because we've had so many seasons the last 5 shortened. But last year, 82, 79. The year before that, he played every game this year. Point per game, 17 goals. I mean, this is a huge part of your team. The one thing that makes you feel better about it is that they just, without Gabe Vilardi, Nick Ehlers has missed extended time, so has Mark Scheifele in the last couple of years. So I think they could withstand it if it was a short-term injury, like 4 to 6 weeks is, you're feeling good about that. Obviously, if you're doing a probability ranking, like I think there's a low chance that he's fine and he comes back, and maybe there's another, maybe a higher chance that he's out for the rest of the season. And maybe in the middle, it's like 4 to 8 weeks, something, if you had to do a curve. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty rough, it's an unfortunate play. He's cutting to the middle. Ryan Strome, maybe he sticks. You could watch it enough times. You can debate if he sticks his leg out or not, but you never want to see a knee-on-knee hit like that and a guy go down. So, credit to the Jets for responding. Mark Scheifele, who seems to be fighting all the time this year has, but very, very unfortunate. Definitely a cloud over the over a great comeback for sure.
Yeah, and I tweeted this afterwards. I mean, I was so rattled after the Connor injury, watching the game with a few buddies. I didn't tweet or anything like that, and then obviously the team came back and did what they did, and full marks to Scheifele for stepping up the way that he did. I think that earns a lot of, he's done a lot of things that I think continue to earn more and more respect amongst his teammates and the fan base. This is not a guy that really should be fighting very often, but when something like that happens, somebody needs to step up, and full marks to Mark for doing exactly that. But I ask all of you, here's our why not question of the day for not Aldercorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. If that was not Kyle Connor, if that was one of the other top goal scorers in the league, say an Austin Matthews, say a McDavid, say a Draisaitl, say a Mitch Marner, you think NHL player safety would have just said no harm, no foul? Sorry about that. Just happens? I don't. I don't at all. And I know, Reem, the only thing that I'll say about this is that maybe the league has been in touch with the Jets and they're not, even though they haven't put this out, they're not too worried, because they usually do put down their decisions, and it a lot of times has to deal with how badly the guy's hurt. Like, I have a hard time believe if a guy sticks out a knee and gets a major penalty on a top scorer in the league and the guy's out for months, that there's no supplemental discipline. If that is the case, it will be absolutely outrageous based on previous penalties from NHL player safety. So maybe that's something that we can hope on. But I would suggest to all of you that if this was a star player, which Kyle Connor absolutely is, from, let's say, a bigger media market, that this doesn't just get dealt with the way that it has been by player safety.
Yeah, here's the tweet from Mike McIntyre this morning. Mike on the scene in California. He tweeted, per league source, would appear no supplemental discipline coming for Anaheim's Ryan Strome, despite receiving a 5-minute major for kneeing Kyle Connor Sunday, which was upheld on review. Connor's having an MRI today in San Jose to determine the extent of the injury. And then Mike goes on, explanation given to me, the NHL believes Strome had planted his foot rather than deliberately extended. Reckless, yes. Intentional, no. And that 5-minute major and game ejection, sufficient punishment despite causing injury. The Jets do not agree with that assessment. And I kind of agree. If it was, happened in Montreal, as we saw Mark Scheifele hit Jake Evans, I mean, the Montreal fans and media went very, very wild over that one. So I don't know if it was totally intentional, but yeah, definitely reckless. And they feel like, what, you suspended him for 5 games, or sorry, for 5. You gave him a 5-minute major. That's equal to a suspension, not necessary. We'll wait and see. And you mentioned plays where you're going by injury rather than intent. But the Trouba fine, where he swiped his stick at a guy's face last week. I mean, it's unbelievable that got a fine. I mean, could have taken a guy's head off with that stick. So the NHL in the past has gone with suspending based on the injury rather than the action. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're giving me optimism here, Huss. Maybe that's conspiracy. Maybe the Jets have been in touch and said, no, he's okay. Don't give him suspension.
Do we think that NHL player safety would go and make this decision without finding a little bit more about the status of Kyle Connor? I mean, I guess I'm thinking about this out loud in real time. But I mean, the severity of the injury has been part of their decision making. Now, I mean, I guess if they just say, hey, it wasn't a suspendable offense, we can disagree with it. But I'm just basing this on what we've seen in the past, that the injury, and I mean, it doesn't make any sense to a lot of people, myself included, that they wait to see if a guy's hurt, and if a guy isn't hurt, not a big deal. This is a big deal. This is a massive deal for the Winnipeg Jets if Kyle Connor's out long term due to that knee. And I mean, if they categorized it as reckless but not worthy of a suspension, I mean, you can just be reckless and injure players with no accountability for it. It does not make sense. And I keep going back to this. I just simply don't believe if that was Austin Matthews, one of the other top goal scorers in the National Hockey League, if that happened in that same fashion, that they're just doing a quick, no worries about it. So maybe this is, bye Blake. I love how spinning this as a positive. I'm just trying to throw out that possibility that it looked bad, but it's not as bad as it was. And I have a feeling that if Kyle Connor was going to be out for months, that would have to be taken into consideration, shouldn't it? Couldn't it?
I'm of the opinion, Huss, the outcome, it's going to be different every time. So I think you got to suspend the act and then the intent. So, but that's not what the NHL has done. We've seen over and over, if you do something that's like really dumb, but the guy, somehow avoids injury, they don't get suspended. So I don't know. I just hope Kyle Connor's not out for too long. I hope for the Jets. They're having a great season. He's having a great season. They're currently first in the Central. But yeah, I mean, you like to see see what a game, 2 games, but like who knows? Like there's no consistency with the way things are done at player safety. So I like people that say, "What do you think of it?" Like I thought Trouba should have got. Like that, we never talked about it really on this show. Like that should have been a 5-gamer, right? Like I know a guy didn't get hurt. So I don't know. You can get so worked up over at Huss, and it never makes any sense.
No. So listen, we will have a WST prayer vigil for Kyle Connor right now until we hear the news. I would expect probably tomorrow. Positive vibes for KFC because the first place Winnipeg Jets need him in the lineup. They're back in action tomorrow night against the San Jose Sharks and then again on Wednesday against the LA Kings before coming back to take on the Colorado Avalanche to kick off a big 4-game homestand with the Avs and then 3 original 6 teams heading into Christmas. The Montreal Canadiens, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Boston Bruins. You can pick up tickets for those games at winnipegjets.com/tickets. And be sure to pay attention to Jets socials. They've got a bunch of fun contests and promos running right now heading into the holiday season, just in time for Santa's visit. All right, we're going to hear from the Winnipeg Jets. And then we're going to talk a little Ohtani aftermath. And then we're going to get back to the Jets. Mike McIntyre will join us for an update. We'll kind of get his boots on the ground assessment of what went down last night, how the Jets are reacting to it, and look ahead to these next couple of games. Just before we get to the Jets audio from last night and their reaction, folks, the holiday season pretty much is here right now. And our friends at Canadian Club have gift options for whatever you're looking for, not to mention stock for all those holiday gatherings. Right now at Manitoba Liquor Marts, all your favorite Canadian Club faves are on sale. Original 100% rye and CC Classic 12-year-old, as well as the Canadian Club Invitation Series, the CC 15-year-old Sherry Cask limited edition, just released last month. It's the signature classic 12-year-old whiskey finished with a secondary aging in Oloroso sherry casks. All the hallmarks of a classic Canadian Club with the added richness and sweetness of sherry. Get it right now for $79.99 at your local Manitoba Liquor Marts while supplies last. It also makes a great gift for the whiskey lover in the family or your circle. Got to shout out Manitoba Battery for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And yeah, it did turn on us. It wasn't going to be 6 or 7 degrees all winter. We knew that. Getting a little colder, and we know what's to come. The deep freeze at one point. Are you ready for it? Is your car battery ready for it? That's the most important thing. And to find out, you can pop by Manitoba Battery at 1026 Logan Avenue for a free battery checkup, as well as taking a look at all of the great product they have. But here's the bottom line, gang. If you need a battery for your car or your truck, shop at Manitoba Battery. You'll be shopping local. You will get the best price in town, period, beating the pants off the big box stores. And in addition, Manitoba Battery will deliver it to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Get on over to manitobabattery.com to order or give them a call at 204-783-8787. Donnie's great staff will help you out and get it out to you on your way. And as I said, if you need a battery test or want to pop in and see him in person, do that at 1026 Logan Avenue. Shout out to our friends at Modern Man Barbershops. Cordell and Jess did a good job on the Dome. Got a few nice comments on the weekend. Guys, it's holidays, you're getting together with folks. Now's a good time to get in. But 12 months a year, Modern Man is there for you with 8 locations in Winnipeg, including the new location at Pembina Highway, as well as over on Plessy Road. And Modern Man's got you covered, guys, with haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, color services, and more. Easiest way to get your appointment is to book your look via modernmanbarber.com. Get set up, pop in, and get looking great for the holidays with our friends at Modern Man. And speaking of the holidays, Many families probably thinking about a great thing to do that you can enjoy all year long. How about a home renovation, a spa or a hot tub, maybe a sauna inside? Listen, Aquatech has been doing home renovations for a long time. Thousands of renos as their foundation, in fact. And Aquatech can upgrade any space in your home. In addition to maybe a spa or sauna, if you're ready to enhance your kitchen, your bathroom, or even add a man cave to your home, Aquatech can help you out. Visit aqua-tech.ca to learn more about their whole home renovations, including financing options. All right, Johnny Giunta is going to join us in a little bit. We're going to get the latest on the aftermath of the Ohtani fiasco on the weekend. But let's hear from the Winnipeg Jets and head coach Rick Bowness. It was a late one. I know many of you probably missed this, but this is what Bones had to say about the hit that knocked out the Jets' leading goal scorer, Kyle Connor.
On it, he'll be reevaluated tomorrow when we get to San Jose.
What did you see on the play as he cuts the
Well, it's a knee on knee. He sticks his knee out, and you hope that's a suspendable knee on knee. I mean, there's no other way of looking at it, and you hope it's suspendable. But the referees made the right call. 5-minute major and a game misconduct, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Mark Scheifele was right there, and I mean, as
that's the leader Mark is. I mean, that's why he didn't hesitate to jump in. He saw what happened. He saw it was a dirty hit, and he addressed it right away. So good on Mark.
There's Rick Bowness with his reaction and comments on the hit. This obviously happened before we heard from NHL player safety that they are doing absolutely nothing. And some credit to Mark Scheifele for standing up for his teammate. Sort of lost in the doom and gloom about the Connor injury was a thrilling third period comeback after they were down 2-0. Now, here's what Bones had to say about the way his team rallied for their fourth straight win to get into first place in the Central Division.
It was a low-event game. I give them a lot of credit. They played extremely hard. We had hit the post or crossbar there right off the bat, so I know they came down and scored, but we knew just stay with it. And we had talked after the second period about we need to get a greasy goal. We weren't getting to the net hard enough. They're not giving us much, so when you're playing the team that's playing that well and that hard, you've got to get greasy goals. And we talked about getting pucks into the crease, and we got a couple, and then they went in. So. But it's a big win for us to come back after being down 2-0. But we weren't rattled. We just had to stay with it.
I asked this in a complimentary way, but did some of your greasier players get the greasy goals? Nino, Morgan,
Gabe? Yep, and Gabe. They're big, strong guys. They got to get to the net, and they did a great job of that. But again, it's one thing to say we got to get to the net. The puck's got to get there too. The puck's got to get there. So Vladdy made a great day of play. Mo made a great play. So, but we knew it was going to be ugly goals and greasy goals, and we got them.
Yeah, there's Bones, mentioning the goal scorers, and again, it started off with Nino, but man, what a play by Morgan Barron. I mean, that goal started with Barron picking a puck out of the air in the neutral zone and quickly turning it around, and a minute later, there he is banging a goal in to tie the game, and then right after Barron did it, a little later on in the third period. It wasn't at home, so we weren't quite able to play the Macarena, but a massive goal for Gabriel Velarde to get his first as a Jet.
Yeah, great play there by Morgan Barron with taking the puck into the zone and after the shot following up and mashing it in past the Ducks goalie. And look, Gabe Velarde, it was only a matter of time. I've been picking him to score. You've been asking me, who do you think's going to score? I'm like, Velarde, he's due. He's getting power play one time. He's getting time with skilled players. He scored. How many did he score last year? Close to 30. It's actually surprising that he hadn't even scored yet with the Winnipeg Jets. But look, he was injured. He's played 8 games. He's got one goal. He had 23 last year and 63. And this is a guy who's got skill, and he gets to the front of the net. Where pretty much all 3 goals.
What a tip.
All 3 goals. And yeah, Josh Morrissey, who we're going to hear from Mark Scheifele, said had one of the best games he's ever played, puts it on net, and just a beautiful play by Velarde to get, to knock it down and pass the Ducks goalie. There were some conversations on Kenny and Rennie yesterday saying that, maybe they were surprised that the Ducks didn't go for a Hail Mary challenge. I didn't think it was close to even consider that. I thought it was, waist high or certainly below the threshold for a high stick, and he was just a great play. And tip your hat to Gabe Balharry with his first as a Jet. And as you mentioned, we still need a home goal though for Macarena blasting. I was just listening to Dance Mix 94 in the car. I know it was 95 had Macarena, but come on, I'm trying to get ready here to do it next game.
Josh Morrissey, monster game as well. Here's what Bones had to say about J-Mo and another big game for the leader of the blue line.
The last two games, he put the team in what she's capable of doing, and he made some great plays. He's so great with the puck. He's just a tremendous skater, elite hockey IQ, and he's made some awesome plays at the right time.
Would you say, Rick, that 5-minute power play? I mean, it's without Kyle, it's without Mark, a little bit discombobulated, maybe the team a little bit in shock too?
I would say discombobulated. I wouldn't say shock, but we saw what had happened, and we had to throw a couple of quick units together, and Brad does a great job with that. And when you get that injury on your team, you want the power play to come out and score. You want them to make them pay for it. Unfortunately, we didn't score. We had some good looks. We just didn't score. But there was some quick adjustments on the bench.
All right, yeah. I mean, adding insult to injury, I mean, Kyle Connor taken out of the play, a 5-minute major. Scheifele steps up for him, and your top two power play guys aren't available for the 5-minute. Listen, the Jets drew a lot of penalties last night, very legitimate ones. I mean, I guess I'll give the PP a bit of a pass just because, as Rick said, it was kind of put together at the last minute. But it should have been a big opportunity for some guys that maybe don't get that sort of playing time with the man advantage to make something happen. But it was some of the grinders that made the difference, and obviously led the Jets to a big win. The other part of it was, I mean, the defense was solid. The Ducks did not have a lot in the game. I mean, the first goal was a play where you guys had 3 cracks at it, and it got in. Connor Hellebuyck let one in again later on, but I guess 16 straight games where the Winnipeg Jets have let in 3 goals or less, and usually if you score more than 2 for Connor Hellebuyck the way he's playing right now, you'll win. Here's what Bones had to say about the defense last night.
Yeah, that's how we play. That's how they play. I mean, again, it was a low event game for the most part, and the best chances came off of the greasiness of both teams throwing pucks at the net. So when you're in that type of game, you got to find a way to get the pucks in there and get in there. And we'd talk about after the second period and making sure that if there's rebounds, you can't be right on top of the goal. You got to be back a little bit and give yourself some space. So give the 4 players credit because that's what they did.
Gabriel Balharry talked a little bit about just the pressure he puts on himself to be a difference maker. So how key was that goal for him?
Oh, huge. And we talked to them this morning. We just want him to get going, get aggressive. I don't worry about mistakes. Just get your feet going, play aggressive, play with an attitude, and we'll live with the rest. And I thought he was a lot better tonight.
December 10th, but you guys are sitting in first place in the Central Division. What does that mean?
It means we got a game Tuesday night in San Jose, and we got to get ready for it.
All right. There's Bones. On to the next one. But in a great spot in the division. Again, all thoughts, though, right now. The Vigil continues to manifest a nice outcome as far as they are possible for Kyle Connor. Let's hear from Gabriel Balharry. He got his first as a Jet and was part of a big rally in the third period. Here's what he had to say about the win and getting his first.
Yeah, definitely felt good. Definitely some relief to that, I feel like. Put a lot of pressure on myself, and it was nice to get that one in.
To come back to the way you guys did, second period starts off and the Alex hits the crossbar and then they come right down and make it 2-0. You've already lost Kyle in the game. Did it feel like there was no sag? I mean, you guys just kind of actually got, better and better as the period went on.
Yeah, it's what good teams do, I think. It's a sign, honestly. You got to keep going. Like, obviously, we had all those power plays and nothing was going. A lot of teams could just hang their heads. They score. They go up. Were they up 2-0 there? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. We just kept battling, and we got some greasy goals, and sometimes that's what it takes to win these types of games.
I was going to ask, I mean, the way Rick always talks about going to the net and sort of see the way you guys scored the goals, maybe nothing of the highlight reel variety, but just the kind that you need to get.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it takes to win some games, and that's what we did tonight, and we were lucky enough to win.
All right, Gabriel Balharry, one of the heroes of last night's comeback win in Anaheim. Here's one more, and this is interesting. I mean, Gabriel Balharry mentioned that, hey, that's what good teams do. He was asked if this sort of proves that the Jets, are a good team. Here's what he had to say about that.
The idea of coming back in a game like this gutsy effort almost reinforces your belief that this is a good team. Like, this is one of those benchmarks that you're going to look at and be like, yeah, we showed up when we needed to.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you guys will look at it like that. We don't really. We just keep playing. But, that is a gutsy effort to keep grinding like that. It was an ugly game. That's just the honest truth, and we won.
Mark Scheifele said that it was one of the best games you ever saw Josh Morrissey play. Big minutes. He was the one who shot you deflected, but what did you see from him?
I think just the usual. I think he's incredible. He's it's so funny, playing in the Pacific Division with the Kings. You don't really get to play the Jets as often, and just being here with the guys and playing with JMO, playing with KC, Scheif, they're just so good, and it's fun to watch and see. But he's just such a great skater that he can get up and down the ice, and it seems like he can do whatever he wants, never get in trouble, just because he gets back so well.
Here's the Macarena man himself, Gabriel Balharry, with his first of the season. We'll await to hear Macarena at Canada Life Centre, hopefully on this upcoming homestand beginning on Saturday against the Avalanche for another Balharry goal. Mark Scheifele, of course, was front and center for the hit on Kyle Connor. Dropped the gloves afterwards with Ryan Strome. Here's what Scheifele thought about the Connor hit.
Yeah, you see your best player go down like that, and sometimes it's hard to get back to playing, and we really battled hard in that third period to win that game. So it was a big effort by a lot of guys.
Is there an element of doing it for Casey in that way? I mean, you guys look fired up in that third.
Yeah, for sure. When you see your guy go down like that, you wanna win the game for him. So that was a lot of good efforts by a lot of great players on our team tonight.
Mark, you didn't waste any time going in there and dropping the gloves. I know that's kind of the mentality of the team here, sticking up for each other.
Yeah, you don't touch any of our guys, especially like that. Definitely didn't like the hit, and to see Casey down like that, he doesn't wince like that very often, and to see him go down like that, you have to get in there, and I know a lot of guys, every guy in this room would do that for each and every one of us.
All right, so Mark Scheifele on the incident. Scheifele also talked about the game overall, and the battle that they had to get into in that third period to come back and get a very important 2 points and get on top of the division.
It was a big win. Bucky made some big saves late. Just some real gutsy plays by a lot of guys, and JMO, I think he probably played 40 minutes tonight, and he was probably one of the best performances I've ever seen. He was unbelievable all night, and it's a pleasure to play with him tonight.
Feel nice for Gabe to get his first in such a meaningful way.
Yeah, big goal, and in a big time. So that was huge for the team, and obviously big for him too.
All right, Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. And we have one more clip from Scheif, just a little bit more on the win and the importance of doing it the way they did.
Not much, it's you just got to continue to play, continue to work. There's a lot of
screwed up Huss on the clip. They asked him, what does it mean to be in first place in the Central at this point of the season? I
gotcha.
My bad.
Not much, it's you just got to continue to play, continue to work. There's a lot of great teams in our division, so we just got to continue to play the way we have and keep battling.
How do you balance the emotions of seeing an injury like that and also making the comeback for the win in first place?
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough. you see a guy go down like that. That second period, we could just tell we were just in a kind of a mellow mood. Not a whole lot was happening, and then the third period we kind of just regrouped a little bit and battled it back, and a lot of great plays. So that was a real big win for us.
So there you have it. There's Mark Scheifele from last night. A big team win, a big comeback, but at a potentially very, very high cost with Kyle Connor being out. And Remo, just taking a look at the ice time, of course, Kyle Connor only played 7:56 in the game because of the injury. David Gustafsson played 8:46. But you look at guys like Morgan Barron, who scored that big goal at 12 minutes on the ice last night, as well as the return of Vlad Nemetstikov, who I thought had a really strong game returning to the lineup and was a big part of the comeback as well, playing 14:34 last night.
Yeah, just looking through Alex Iafallo, a bit of a boost there, 16:43, Gabe Vardy 19:43, and there was so much talk about Nemetstikov coming in. Good timing for him to come back. And, how about just at the top, Nikolai Ehlers, 20:47, Scheifele, 23:45. And, Gustafsson was 8:40. Gustafsson was the only forward who played the entire game under 10 minutes. And we saw that in Colorado has just the even distribution of ice time. Obviously, Kyle Connor, he played just about eight minutes there. But you're really seeing these guys roll four lines. And just when, Velarde gets back, scores, you've had these lines out, Kyle Connor's out, but that's just part of the season. And we'll wait and see, when they announce it probably tomorrow, what happens or who's getting called up, we'll have to see. Certainly interesting. And on the defense, we've been talking so much about Schmidt and Chisholm and Stanley, that rotation. Logan Stanley was the one who got in after playing against Colorado in the win. So I guess winning lineup, but you continue. 11:30 for Stanley, Sandberg 12:18, and Mark Scheifele said he thought Josh Morrissey played 40 minutes. Pretty close. Pretty close. I mean, I don't know if this must be close to a high in the season. 30-17 for Josh Morrissey in a game that didn't go to overtime, relying on him heavily, and he rewarded them with 2 assists. And shout out to Gabe Velarde for tipping that one, and Morgan Barron jamming one in. So a nice game there from Morris.
Yeah, big time. 30-17, the time on ice. He spent 10 minutes on the ice on the power play and did not kill a penalty. Dylan DeMello and Dylan Sandberg carrying the weight, as well as Brendan Dillon on the PK, Neil Pionk and Logan Stanley with a smaller amount. And then you look at the power play ice time. Cole Perfetti, 9:25 last night. Ehlers, 7:08. Mark Scheifele was 6:24. Of course, that's because he missed 5 minutes. Gabriel Velarde as well with 9:28. Like, it's crazy. Velarde was on the ice for 19:43. More than half of it was on the power play.
Yeah.
And again, he did score later on. So, and I know the guys didn't make too much of it, but we can. Nice to see the Winnipeg Jets in first place right now in the division. And when you look at the standings, there's Winnipeg, 34 points, 16-8-2 with 26 games played. The Avalanche also at 34, but one more regulation loss. They've played 27 games. And the Dallas Stars coming off getting pounded by the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday afternoon. 1 point back of the Winnipeg Jets with 33. And, it wasn't too long ago, Reem, that the Jets were just right there with Arizona and St. Louis. You run the table for a week. Those teams lose a couple each, and now they've got 6 and 7 point cushions on Arizona and St. Louis. And it's actually the Nashville Predators who have moved up into 4th place in the division with 30 points, although the Jets do have 2 games in hand. So, listen, they've done the job since that 3-game losing streak. And now we wait to find out what the story of Kyle Connor is. And we'll talk to Mike as well about how this lineup might change and look, in San Jose and LA at minimum, assuming that Kyle Connor won't be available to the club on this road trip.
Yeah, really impressive, moving on up to first place in the Central. They beat Colorado. Dallas gave them some trouble before, but hey, 34 points, and they're not really taking a victory lap yet, Hustler. It's only December 11, and it was first last year, first in the Western Conference. Remember, it was mid-January, and then we were all celebrating. I think that was one of our most listened to shows, and we all know what happened in the second half of last year after that. It was a bit of a nosedive record among, for that time period, among the worst in the NHL, but
nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
That was
Connor
last
Hellebuck
year.
doesn't care. I don't care. Different team, different season. Let's just move forward.
That was last year. Yeah, it's a different team. We're not here to talk about last year. We've done it, and Connor Hellebuck, he's been very solid among the top in goals saved above expected, and he hasn't had to make those spectacular saves. His team's playing well, but he's making the ones that he's supposed to, leading the team to another win. So definitely feels good, although we're kind of, crossing our fingers that it's not too serious for Kyle Connor, and a lot of people coming in chat. What's the update? No update today. It was a travel day. So tomorrow we hope to hear, but
Mike's there. We'll ask Mike. We'll see,
Yeah.
Kind of what he gathered from. I'll hit him with my theory that maybe the fact that there was no suspension on this bodes well for Kyle Connor's update. But listen, we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about the Ohtani fiasco and how things ended up. Johnny Giunta is going to join us in just a minute. But I do want to thank our friends at Vita Health Fresh Market for their great support of WST. Gang, if you're looking for great prices on natural and organic supplements, beauty products, and groceries, get on down to one of 6 Vita Health Fresh Market stores or online at myvita.ca. Of course, we just finished Men's Health Month, but men's health should be top of mind 12 months a year. And Vita Health is a great spot to get all your important supplements to help you live your best life, including Prairie Naturals, Canada's #1 line of men's health supplements, formulated to help support the changing needs of a man's body and helping with prostate health, andropause, low libido, testosterone, stress, male energy, and performance. And don't forget, when you shop at Vita Health, you're supporting a great local company, family-owned and operated since 1936, carrying Winnipeg's largest assortment of local products, too. Pop down and see them. Vita Health, empowering people to lead healthy lives. 6 Winnipeg locations and online at myvita.ca. Our friends at Wallace & Wallace, busy as always as Winnipeg's fencing and overhead door specialist. You've seen their fences and trucks all over the city. You might not know they are the leaders in overhead garage doors. And listen, that overhead garage door had lots of ups and downs this summer. Lots of ups and downs, kind of like this weekend for Jays fans. Working hard to get you to and from all that summer and fall fun. Well, guess what? It's about to work a whole lot harder because winter puts much more stress on a garage door. The right time to prevent downtime this winter is now. Call Wallace & Wallace to book your inspection and maintenance service. Call today. For residential and commercial overhead door sales and service, there's only one name or two you need to know, and that is Wallace & Wallace. And just before we discuss this Ohtani fiasco, big shout out to the boys down at F Apparel. Guys, trying to look good for the holidays and in 2024. If you look into your closet and know it's time to up your menswear game, a couple things. First of all, maybe nudge that special someone and say, I wouldn't mind an F Apparel gift card for Christmas. And then get on down to F Apparel and check out their custom suits made to order and fit, starting at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. Check out the gift cards right now. You can give the gift of style. And of course, you can also make an appointment or check them out online at EPHapparel.com and make plans for the holidays. All right. Mike McIntyre will join us from San Jose in about 15 minutes or so. But we've got to get to the aftermath of everything that happened with Shohei Ohtani. And, considering how we have all been, I don't want to call it betrayed, but listen, we got thrown for a loop by a lot of the big Jays out there. Let's connect with a guy that has as good of a connection with the fan base of the Toronto Blue Jays to find out what the hell happened and where we go from here. Really looking forward to welcoming in for the first time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. He is the man behind the Gate 14 pod, voice of Blue Jays Nation. Last week, his Twitter feed, it was Johnny Ohtani. On the weekend, it was Johnny dead inside. Now it's just back to Johnny Giunta, who joins us right now. Johnny, hey, listen, man, big fan of what you guys do. And I'm pumped to have you on the show, although I wish it was under different circumstances. Oh, hold on a sec. We just got you muted.
I'll fix that. Are we good now?
Oh, I think you guys both pressed the button at the same time, Reem. No, we're not hearing you now. And folks, while we get Johnny set up, you got to check out Gate 14 Pod, and you can give Johnny a follow as well. Some of the content off of his feed was, that was the one thing. There were definitely winners. Reem, do you think should we get him to pop in and pop back out, or?
It came up for a sec and then went away. I don't know.
Yeah, it did. It was really weird. We came up for a second.
Yeah. Johnny,
I tell you what, just pop out and pop back in. That's happened a couple times before. But you can give him a follow on Twitter at Johnny, JOHNNYGIUNTA _ and check out the Gate 14 Pod. Rima, where were you when you found out about Shohei going to the Dodgers for $700?
Okay. Well, we had the show Friday where we're following the plane, and I had the biggest laugh when I found out that it was Robert Hrabchak's plane from Shark
the Dragon's Den guy.
I'm a big Shark Tank guy, so I thought that was hilarious. But and then I saw the report on my phone. I was just on the couch on my phone, and I was just like kind of chuckled, and I was like, "All right." Okay. And I see what happened.
On to the next. All right, we got Johnny back. Let's see if we can hear him right now.
I don't know what's going on there.
We've got we can't hear you, which is the issue right now. Let's just see what people are saying in the chat. Jeff Gabilas knows Johnny, a great listen. It's actually funny. There's as many comments about the KNR show last night. T. Conapoli, I hear that you took a big part of the a big part of the show last night. Was you going toe to toe with the guys? I'll be there. Okay, I think we can hear Johnny now.
Okay, just let me get him loaded in.
Yes, dude. Yeah, Remo will just bring it in. Apologies on this. But yeah, listen, while we bring John in, I'll tee this up. We got strung along by a lot of the quote unquote most respected people that cover Major League Baseball. John Morosi with the tweet that he's on his way to Toronto, boosted by the Sportsnet account itself. And then, we'll get to the list of people that deserve it. But first of all, man, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Listen, I've never been to Winnipeg. Oh, I want to go. Me and Eric Swanson were talking. I believe Eric Swanson's joining the bandwagon. I think Eric Swanson is a Winnipeg Jets fan now.
He's down.
Yes. Me and him have planned to go to a game at some point, hopefully in the new year. Maybe we can come down there. I've never been, so I'd love to come down there. But I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's Jets Leafs Saturday, January 29th. When people are deciding to come to Winnipeg, I don't normally say come down in the middle of January. But I'll tell you what. If you and Swanson want to come down, we'll definitely show you a good time and should be a great week. Listen, first of all, we now live in a digital space after a very different existence for a long time, and it never... more and more, I see content like what you're putting out, and I just want to give you a lot of credit. It is, and I think we've seen through all of this. You know what people are looking for? Things that are real and authentic. And you do that, so congratulations on that. We didn't get a lot of real or authentic stuff from a lot of the people that we're supposed to trust as baseball fans right now. Well, how do we make sense of everything that happened last week going into the weekend, especially considering what is coming out now as to how all this went down?
If you really think about it, it really just doesn't make sense. This doesn't happen. I know last year we had it with John Heyman with the arson judge to the Dodgers type of fiasco and stuff like that, but this doesn't really happen. Like, it's obviously a weird situation where you have a free agent as big as Shohei Ohtani being reported that he is on a flight to Toronto by a national baseball writer that is a Hall of Fame voter. I mean, we were obviously going to believe that, but a lot of these people here now, like a lot of these journalists who I thought I could trust, are dead to me. With all due respect, they're all dead to me. Very weird situation, man. People are going to call me delusional in the chat, call me delusional on Twitter for believing it. But if we can't believe baseball journalists who work for MLB Network, I truly don't know what we can believe. I really don't.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, this we'll get to. I mean, there's a long list of people that deserve a smack in the head. But that was put out by John Morosi. It was then retweeted by Sportsnet that owned the Blue Jays, as well as Major League Baseball, like the MLB account. So I don't blame you. I don't blame myself. I know there's a lot of Toronto people going, this is my own fault for believing we ever had a chance. And I'm sure there's people that want to take cheap shots, that people that got emotionally invested in it. I don't blame the fans one bit. And frankly, what we're finding out now, or what is being speculated now, as to how the Jays and their fan base got twisted and used the way they did, I think has the potential to turn a lot of people off of baseball, period, right now.
Well, you're right. I mean, there's no way to really, if you're a sports fan, right? I mean, I had people texting me that I haven't heard from in years talking about this. Toronto Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays, everything to get Ohtani. People that aren't really interested in the sport gave the sport a chance and we're going to jump back into it. They believed he was going to come here. I believe I saw opening day tickets sold out that day. Like, they sold out opening day tickets. And then next thing you know, he's not here. He's not coming. People have every reason to believe that, but I will say this for the people that are saying, this front office, this is front office, that. This front office did every single thing, used every single resource in the planet to attain this player. At the end of the day, he wanted to go to LA, which is where he was comfortable playing. You can't blame the front office for that. You can't.
No, you can't. And I think, I mean, if you put the pieces together, and some people have done this, with the fact that, they were sort of using, the Jays had a really good offer and he was up there. I mean, basically he was waiting for what they needed. And I have no idea how much Ohtani was even involved in this, or is this just an agent that's taken full advantage of everything available to. But like, if I'm Morosi and I got fed that bad information, like, I mean, that could end a guy's career in a lot of ways. Like, I'm sure it won't. Like, I do wonder where the ethics are of it. And like, is that not borderline fraud? With the aftermath of it on other sides, or is it just another way to squeeze every last dollar out while putting every big star on one of two freaking teams?
My thing with that is I would pay millions to see this text thread between John Morosi. But just so people know, John Morosi tweeted this on his own merit. He tweeted that CAA people, the CAA agents, would not answer him when he asked where Ohtani was. So he jumped the gun, and he was the one that tweeted that he was on a plane to Toronto. There was no confirmation. So if his credibility's gone, if he is fired or whatever, or just held accountable for this, this is all him. He was the one that tweeted this on his own merit. CAA never confirmed that he was on a plane to Toronto. He never confirmed that. So at the end of the day, he's the one to blame for this. He, gullible or not, he tweeted this, and he gave us this false hope.
Well, we can't forget about another member of the BBWAA, our pal JP out in LA, who doubled down on his report on Saturday morning about 2 hours before they announced he was going to the Dodgers.
This guy is absolutely, like, he should, it's incredible. The thing about that is he tweeted it Saturday. He said he's going there, right? Or yeah, he doubled down on it Saturday. But the fact that this guy has the audacity to start parading around that Shohei Ohtani was a Dodger after he signed, he was like, oh, Ohtani's coming here. He tweets the screenshot. Have some shame. Have a little bit of shame if you're ever going to do that. It is crazy. He's the most hated man in Canada, I think. I truly do.
Well, you know what? He's got some company now, because let me present to the court one Ken Rosenthal, one John Heyman, who, basically are telling all of us that, hey, whatever, this is good for baseball, that he's just going and loading up this Dodgers team, and that, going to a team like the Toronto Blue Jays doesn't have the mystique or the history to have a player of this nature, showing what a 2-tiered or maybe 3-tiered league that we have right now. And then I'd also like to throw in, and I won't use the word that I want to describe him, but one Shai Davidi from none other than Rogers Sportsnet, who came out with the most holier-than-thou article I've ever read on Friday night, shaming the fans for getting too emotionally involved and not believing everything, when his own damn network was the one that boosted the Morosi tweet, and he didn't even mention it in the article. Like, where's he in the Blue Jay fan power poll right now?
Well, what makes it worse is this. Like, Ben Nicholson and Shai Davidi were parading around like, you can't believe the spewed fake, the nonsense on Twitter. You can't believe all that type of stuff. They were talking about flight tracking. They were the ones that were talking about flight tracking. He talked about how it's all like fans are doing this, like he's doing this, all media members are doing this. And then after that, he writes an article, a tasteless article, saying, you can't believe the fake nonsense all over Twitter, all over that type of stuff. You helped this. You were a part of this. Your network was a part of this. Your network tweeted it. I know it was probably a university kid that runs their social media page. Fine. But your network gave into it. So you got to have a little bit of accountability. And as fans, I know people are saying in the chat, whatever, delusional this, delusional that. As a fan, you are delusional. All fans are delusional. I think the Jays are winning a World Series every year. I'm delusional. The Jets fans, I'm sure there's probably tons of delusional Jets fans. That's what life as a fan is like. And if you can't be delusional for your team, what's the point of being a fan? Like, I thought about Ohtani being a Blue Jay. I saw tweets from credible people saying that he's going to be a Blue Jay. Why should I have not believed it? We're all delusional. That's what fandom is. That's what being a fan is.
You're exactly right. And I got to ask you about, the fact that it's LA again. Freeman and Betts and now Ohtani. It's hilarious because they choke like dogs every single year in the playoffs. And of course, Soto now going to the Yankees. The Jays, from your perspective, where do they go from here? Is Bellinger a realistic target? And how, as an organization, do they get kind of past the incredible disappointment of the euphoria that Jays fans had for the last week?
Well, let me say this, and listen, this is going back to me being delusional. The Toronto Blue Jays last year, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was terrible. Dalton Varsho was terrible. Their silver slugger catcher, Alejandro Kirk, was terrible. And they still found a way to win 89 baseball games last year. They still found a way to win 89 baseball games last year. If anything, this pitching staff is returning besides Ryu, right? A really good pitching staff, top 2 in baseball. This bullpen was one of the best in baseball last year, top 5, I believe, in ERAs. There is they won the team gold glove. They were good defensively. The only facet of the game that they were bad at was offense, and that was because of these superstars or stars on their team underperforming. Next year, if you get Vladdy bounce back, Kirk bounce back, Varsho bounce back, even 2 out of those 3, this team is still going to be really good. Does it suck that last year we had to watch this offense 162 games a year? Sure, but there's still a chance here for this team to get better. A Cody Bellinger type, a Jorge Soler type, Reese Hall, all of these guys that they could add that could at least add a little bit of power with the hope that Vladdy and Kirk and Varsho get back to their normality is a massive opportunity for this team.
No, I agree with you, as much as it's hard to think about that right now. Johnny, this has been awesome. I hope we can do this again, kind of getting closer to the season when the team's playing right now, but fill our listeners and viewers in on what you've got cooking at Gate 14, where they can find you guys and the content you're churning out.
Yeah, so we do the Gate 14 podcast. Like I said, I've been said multiple times this podcast. We're delusional fans, man. We're the common fan. We're a podcast for the fan, for the common fan, by the common fan. We come up. We're not going to be suit and ties for you guys. We're going to tell it how it is. I started this with one of my best friends, Avery Chenier, and luckily we've been able to get a really good amount of traction. We've grown at a really rapid rate, and I've been lucky for that. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Gate 14 Podcast. We've had tons of Jays players on, like Bassett, Swanson, Davis Schneider, all these guys. So we've done a great job of that. And like I said, this is for the common fan. And we've been lucky to kind of go from there and obviously create some sort of like community with the Toronto Blue Jays fans that want their voices to be heard. So that's where you can find us. And I appreciate you coming on. You allowing me to come on here, and let's go Jets. I'm not a Leaf fan, by the way, for the chat. I am not a Leaf fan. I am a noted Leaf hater. So I want to make that very clear for the chat. I'm a free agent. I'm a free agent hockey fan.
Well, hey, speaking of getting delusional and ahead of ourselves, the Jets are in first place right now, so it's a good time. You get Swanson, you come on down. We'll have a good time here in the Peg, and then we can all come together.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome.
We can get past this this last week and move on. And I am looking forward to hearing F you in Japanese for 3 hours on April 26th when the Dodgers get there. Johnny, all the best. We got a link if you want to check out the Gate 14 YouTube in the chat right now. Get in there and give them a sub and check that out. Johnny, let's do this again, man. It's great to have you on the show.
Let's go. And you know what? For respect of this chat and this channel, I will be betting the Winnipeg Jets. Their next game, I will be nuking them out of respect. That's what I do for the people of Winnipeg.
Good news. They're in San Jose. Thanks a lot. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There's Johnny Giunta. Wow, 555 in chat right now. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And maybe for those of you, probably a few new folks, hit that subscribe button and join us. We're here every day, 1 p.m. live on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your favorite pods. Just search Winnipeg Sports Talk, and you'll find those. You'll find it there, and the pod will be out about 3:30 or so. Yeah, lots of love for Johnny in the chat. Dude, he is awesome. And I mean, if you want to go through his Twitter feeds, he was very well behaved today. But I can tell you, some of the rants that he dropped over the course of this last week. Listen, it is absolutely what being a fan is all about. Does a great job. Love it. And we'll try and get Johnny to be a bit of a regular when we want to talk Jays through the offseason and heading into next year. All right, we are going to get back to the main event, though, and that, of course, is the Winnipeg Jets. Just before we bring in Mike, big thanks again to our friends at Little Brown Jug for the great hospitality last week in the tap room. Now's a great time to get down to the tap room. They've got a great deal for the holidays. If you get 12 cans and you can mix and match your favorite LBJs, you'll get a $15 gift card to use in the tap room on all the great beers they have on tap. Great merchandise down there as well would make a great gift. So make a point of getting down to William Avenue and checking them out. Of course, we've got a 4-game homestand coming up for the Jets. So 1919 and generics on tap at the rink. And you can always find a Little Brown Jug wherever they sell great beer. And a big thanks to Nick and Nikki DQ for their support of WST and a couple of those Buster bars on the weekend that Nick brought over. Ooh, those are good. Listen, great DQ ice cream goes well with all holiday celebrations. And they're your go-to people for ice cream cakes as well. Why not get one of those mixed in for the holidays? Hit them up on Instagram at DQ Manitoba or pop by and see them at DQ Northgate or DQ Polo Park in Winnipeg. And, of course, they've got the Pita Pit out in Niverville as well. If you're in Niverville, pop by and see them there. And hit them up on Instagram at Pita Pit Niverville for catering options. And don't forget, they do deliver citywide. Great to see Nick. And he got to meet a lot of the WSTers last week. All right, let's get back to the Jets and everything coming out of their rise to first place in the division. And we just can't have nice things. Kyle Connor being injured last night. Mike McIntyre is in Cali with the Winnipeg Free Press. Mike, what is going on? How are you?
Sorry, he changed. Hold on, I don't have Mike.
Oh, I can.
I know
hear
you can hear him. He's not on the stream. I didn't realize he changed to a new computer.
Yes, it was a quick change. We've got Mike on a different feed right now.
Got to see my lovely face. Don't just hear my voice.
Well, exactly. All right, Mike. Sorry, you can just start up again. That you were enjoying our last convo with Johnny.
Well, I admit I'm a Blue Jays fan. I'm actually a Montreal Expos fan, going back to when they were a thing. they're not a thing anymore. So the Blue Jays became my team, and as a longtime Blue Jay fan, I of course was taken along for the same ride that so many other Jays fans were taken along. And I refused to believe that it was going to happen. And then the whole plane thing and John Morosi and of course there I was in Newport Beach. Like I was a stone's throw from Ohtani's home as this news was breaking. I landed at John Wayne Airport 10 minutes before that private charter that supposedly was carrying Ohtani took off. And then, of course, I had my heart broken on Saturday. So yeah, it was a fun chat to listen to us because Johnny, he speaks for me, and I'm sure many Blue Jays fans out there.
Well, okay, Mike, listen. I mean, I'll put this to you as the Big J journalist on the show. Who are we supposed to trust now when it comes to this sort of reporting? Last year, it was Heyman. Judge is a giant.
Yeah.
And then this year, like I know people are giving Jays fans, oh, you're idiots for getting too sucked in. We were being told this by so many reputable people. It's being boosted by Sportsnet. It's being boosted by Major League Baseball. Right. What are people supposed to think?
By the way, when John Heyman reported Judge had signed, didn't he refer to him as Arson Judge?
Arson Judge, yes.
So he was talking about a different guy. His lesser known cousin or something. Look, from what we're now learning and what's kind of come out, it would appear that not only were the Toronto Blue Jays played for suckers here, but some journalists were as well. And look, I understand the position that probably some journalists are in now where they don't want to burn their sources. But I think if we can put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4, Ohtani's agents and agency here, it would appear we're playing a very dangerous game, and one that I guess at the end of the day they won, because look at what his deal ended up being. And, there may have been certain things that were planted to certain journalists who they then got used and made to look like fools, all for the greater good, if you will, from Ohtani's agent's behalf, which was to try and get him the maximum contract to try and leverage the Jays and Canada and all that. So, I'm sure there's some journalists right now, Huss, John Morosi being at the top of that list, who are probably having some very heated, animated discussions behind the scenes, let's put it that way. And, they're not going to necessarily start naming names publicly, but so I don't want to let everyone off the hook here, because I think we saw, and Bob Nightingale wrote a really interesting piece the other day in his column. And it is kind of a reflection on modern journalism, the rush to be first, the lack of fact checking at times that come with wanting to, rush to social media to get it out there. But I think what we saw here was some journalists, they got played too. And a lot of people, I'm sure, are very upset about how this all played out.
Yeah, well, put it this way. Ken Rosenthal and Heyman for telling us all why this is a good for the game. Those guys should not be allowed across the border. And, well, I won't even get you to comment on Shai Davidi's piece, but I think there's a lot of people that are still pissed off that, you can basically shame fans into getting all into this and not mention the Morosi tweet or the fact that your own damn network boosted it along with Major League Baseball. That was a joke. Anyways.
So just quickly on the good for the game thing, and here's where that argument falls apart for me. First of all, Ohtani's been playing in Los Angeles. Like, he's moving from the LA market to the LA market. So there's no change there. And second of all, I know the Dodgers, obviously they're an institution. They're a famous, fabled franchise. They play half their games at like 10 o'clock Eastern time, when most people in the East Coast are already in bed. So, and again, to go back to an Eastern team like Toronto, had Ohtani gone there, not only could it have opened up perhaps an entire new generation of fans in an entire country, Canada, you also would have had him playing in what I would suggest would be prime time pretty much every game of the season in an Eastern time zone, as opposed to being out on the Pacific time zone when the majority of people, I don't care how big of a baseball fan you are, how many people are staying up to watch Ohtani baseball games? I'm sure there'll be some fans now who will tune in. But again, he's been playing in LA the whole time. So whatever marketing opportunities and growth and all that, couldn't that all have happened out here already? I mean, he's been in California, right? Nothing changed. Anyways.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I thought that it was just bad form. And it's like these guys are so beholden to a couple teams. They've just got to keep on slurping them. And for guys that, apparently cover the entire league, I mean, and the agents will tell you, oh, it's so great. The teams can spend whatever they want. I mean, yeah, I realize that you have the D-backs make a run. And listen, the Dodgers are choke artists. They do it every year. But still, I mean, there's at least half this league that's starting off this season feeling like they don't even have a chance. And I would offer that's not a very good thing. Let's get to the Jets. Like, I'd love to be sitting here and just starting off how pumped we all are that the team's in first place and the big stirring comeback win last night. But we can't start this conversation without asking you about Kyle Connor. You were there after the game. How would you describe the attitude of the Winnipeg Jets after what should have been a huge uplifting victory, but it sort of felt like there was a cloud in the room?
Yeah, they were, to put it quite frankly, they were pissed off, and they have every right to be. They just watched their leading scorer, a guy who, was probably going to take a serious run at the 50 mark, already up to 17, 2 off the NHL lead, heading into action last night. They just watched him get taken out by a dirty play, a play that shouldn't have happened. And so, yeah, they were ticked, and they were very concerned, of course, and I think for good reason, Huss. I mean, we won't get an official update till tomorrow morning following the morning skate here in San Jose. The Jets are off today. What I can tell you is Kyle Connor, his off day today, and there's going to be a lot of off days likely coming up for Kyle Connor, but his day today involves getting an MRI here in San Jose. And obviously fingers are crossed that that the best case scenario or the better scenario is unveiled. And I hearken back, and it was interesting that we ended up talking to Gabe Vilardi last night, who of course was the goal scoring hero, because Gabe Vilardi, he can relate to a serious knee injury. And again, to go back, he missed 6 weeks and 2 days, I think it ended up being. And if you recall, at the time when he got hurt, and his interview just the other day where he said it was really close to being season ending. Well, that's the obvious concern about Kyle Connor, given that it appears he suffered a very similar injury as Gabe Vilardi. And so put it this way, Huss, there's hope. The hope is that they'll be talking in terms of weeks as opposed to months. But I think, the Jets and Jets fans should probably get used to Kyle Connor, barring some kind of remarkable revelation on the MRI. And who knows, maybe he's got just incredible healing powers. But certainly there's great concern that he's going to be out for a significant period of time.
Mike, we were talking about this early on, and of course, NHL player safety's already come out and said there's no supplemental discipline for this play. It was reckless, but from your tweet, but wasn't anything
Not
that
malicious.
stood up for that. I did spin zone myself into a theory earlier in the show that if we think about player safety, they have often determined their suspensions based on the severity of injury to a player. I spin zone myself into thinking that maybe there's been contact between the Jets and the league, and they don't believe it to be as bad as it could be, and that's why they came out as quickly as they did with no penalty. Is that dreaming?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, don't forget Blake Lizotte. He didn't. There was no hearing for Blake Lizotte, and we heard Gabe Balharry last week. He came out spitting fire about the hit from Blake Lizotte. And now, in retrospect, Huss, I don't think the Lizotte play at the time, if I recall, I don't think we were talking about it in quite the same term. Lizotte, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he got a 2-minute tripping penalty at the time. He didn't get a kneeing penalty. And so, there's some similarities. I don't think it was as blatant or as obvious. But if we're going by plays that cause injury, Blake Lizotte's actions caused a significant injury. And in fact, Huss, Blake Lizotte, unlike Ryan Strome, didn't get a major and kicked out of the game. And that's one of the things I was told that likely factored in here, is that the NHL would view it as there already has been a penalty, if you will, against Strome, and that he got turfed from the final almost 2/3 of the hockey game, and his team was shorthanded for 5 minutes. The Jets, I can tell you, don't view it anywhere near the same way as the NHL. And again, not to pour cold water all over your theory, because I appreciate the optimism, Huss. My understanding is that the Jets would have had a conversation last night with the NHL, and that they were told, in the NHL, they review these in real time, and they'll take a look, obviously, as time goes on. But the Jets were aware last night that this was not going to result in anything, and Kyle Connor hasn't even had the MRI yet.
Well, that's bullshit. But anyways, let's move on. There's my take on that.
So eloquent.
Yeah, you know what? That's the beauty of being able to live in the YouTube and podcast world. You can squeeze one of those in every now and then. So listen, they're going to probably play without Kyle Connor these next couple of games. I mean, I did see a doctor tweet out that there's a number of possibilities. It could be anywhere from day to day to worst case scenario, which we all know what that is. Assuming that Kyle Connor's out for the next while, what does that do to the Jet lineup? And presuming, this isn't someone in the middle six or a fourth liner that's out. This is a guy that is playing with Mark Scheifele on the top line. I mean, they do have other options to play with Mark. But who might be coming out? And does the fact that it's Kyle Connor maybe change the type of player and the role of a player that the Winnipeg Jets might be adding to the lineup?
I really don't think so, Huss. For example, for people out there, say they might look at the Moose statistics, right, and say, oh my God, Nikita Chibrikov and Brad Lambert are 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, maybe. I know Kyle Capobianco, the veteran D-man, is up there in scoring too. But Chibrikov and Lambert, if you're talking about forwards, they're leading the Moose in scoring, which is remarkable, absolutely remarkable for players at their age and their experience, which is very limited at the pro level. What Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov are doing is I would suggest it's beyond the hopes that the Jets management would have had. That being said, do not hold your breath on either of those players getting called up and thrown onto Winnipeg's top line or second line or whatever in the coming days. I just don't think that's the way. First of all, if we go by history, that's traditionally not the way the Jets have operated. And second of all, I just think they want to let those kids, and they're still kids, I just think they want to let them ripen a lot longer on the vine down in the AHL. So what I think is going to happen here, Huss, is yes, they'll have to call someone up from the Moose. Whoever they call up from the Moose is probably just going to sit in the press box because, last night, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was the lone healthy scratch at forward. So he he comes into the lineup. No, he's not going onto the top line in Kyle Connor's place, but there will be a domino effect, a trickle up, if you will. And I wonder, Huss, and again, we'll see at morning skate tomorrow what they potentially do. I wonder if they consider starting the game tomorrow like they finished the game last night. Morgan Barron. Morgan Barron was on that line and scored a big goal. And, I think they love what Morgan Barron can do, what he brings. No, he's not even remotely close to the same kind of player, obviously, as Kyle Connor. They had Alex Iafallo. He went up there actually initially yesterday after Connor first went out. And that didn't last that long. There's always, you could put Gabe Vilardi, I suppose, up there. And that might be an option. I think, though, Huss, reading a little bit from what Rick Bowness was saying yesterday, and the goal was great by Vilardi. He's still got some catching up to do. And Gabe Vilardi himself admitted that. So I don't know if throwing the kind of minutes and all that at Vilardi right now is what they do, but it's a possibility. I mean, there's all kind. You could put Nino Niederreiter. Like there's obviously a lot of depth, and the depth is going to be tested on this team. But to go back to your original question, I don't foresee a situation where somebody gets called up from the Moose and not only immediately put in the lineup, but actually put into that spot. And, Lambert and Chibrikov being offensive players, I know people will make the argument. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you as well, especially when the guys that have been playing, including Axel, have been like, I'll be honest, I was stunned that he was out of the lineup. I mean, think about what he did Thursday night.
Gus has been great too, though, right? How do you think
Gus has been awesome. And I mean, it was just a point of like how good Axel was and how impactful he was in that game against the Avalanche the other day. So, I mean, the team is going to have to move forward in all likelihood without 81 for a little while. Do you think that Ehlers stays with Scheifele for the time being? I mean, the one thing that hasn't really been clicking is that second line right now with Cole Perfetti. I do wonder if maybe, and again, I guess this has a lot to do with Gabriel Vilardi and how ready he is for that role and the big minutes. I mean, do I think that he ends up with Scheifele there at some point? Yeah, I do. Yeah. But I do wonder about where Nikolai Ehlers fits best right now. It's probably with Mark Scheifele and somebody else on that. And then that really does put, a little bit more pressure on that second line, considering the first line's going to be without Kyle Connor to kind of get back to the production that we saw pretty consistently out of that line when Nikolai Ehlers was playing with Perfetti.
Yeah, I would take the approach that you don't fix what's not broken. And one thing I think we could safely say that isn't broken right now is, what we're seeing from Nikolai Ehlers, who I think is playing some terrific hockey, and seems to have really found some chemistry there with Mark Scheifele. And so, if I'm the Jets, I probably don't break that duo up at this point. And, if you think back to how the Jets have often run their lines, we talk about lines as threes. The Jets often have run those pairs, right? They get certain guys, like certain pairings that they like, and then you kind of try and find a complementary piece to that pair. I think right now, the pair of Ehlers and Scheifele works well, just as I would make the argument, Huss, and Vlad Nemestikov's return to the lineup, that couldn't come at a better time for the Jets. If Nemestikov was also still out and now Connor's out, now you're really like, I think Vlad Nemestikov brings so much to this lineup. We saw it last night. He went right back into that second line center spot. And if we're talking pairs, I think Vlad Nemestikov helps bring out some really good qualities in Cole Perfetti. And so if I'm the Jets, I'm probably keeping Nemestikov and Perfetti together. Now, do you have Gabe Vilardi as the third there? Whoops, we just lost the phone there. I had to plug my phone in, so it's resting on the charger. So do you put Gabe Vilardi there with the Nemestikov Perfetti pair, or does Vilardi go up with Ehlers and Scheifele? Again, you have options: Alex Iafallo, Nino Niederreiter, Morgan Barron. There's a number of wingers. And maybe we see a bit of a rotation here as they try to find something that works. But yeah, it'll make, the morning skate tomorrow is going to be interesting, first of all, because we should get a more detailed update on Kyle Connor. And then second of all, we'll at least get the first glimpse at how Rick Bowness might try and fill the enormous hole that's created. I'll say this, though, Huss. I know a lot of people, and I saw a bunch of tweets. I got some saying, oh, my God, season's over if Kyle Connor's out, if he's out long-term, season's over. I would say no, it's not. And I think the way the Jets are built and the way the Jets are playing, this is a team that hasn't given up 3 or more than 3 goals in 16 games now. That's bordering on 20% of an entire season. The way the Jets are playing defensively, obviously it starts with Connor Hellebuyck. This is not a team that needs to score 6 goals every night to win, 5 or 6 goals. And I think the way that they're built, the way they're playing, the systems in place, that the hope is that they could withstand the loss of their leading scorer, a guy that's a bona fide threat every time he's on the ice. And I don't know if you could say that about past Jets teams. I think you can say that about this year's edition.
Well, and I was listening to Merrick today, and it sort of caught me off guard, but the Jets have gone 16 straight games allowing 3 goals or less. Yeah. And, with Hellebuyck playing the way he's playing right now, combined with the way the Jets are playing in, doing a pretty darn good job defensively, I got a lot of time for that right now, and that will keep us in a somewhat positive mindset going forward as we wait for the news of Kyle. It really is unfortunate because it does sort of overshadow, Mike, just what a great week the Winnipeg Jets had. Finding a way to beat you end the losing streak against the Hawks, you come back and find a way to beat the Carolina Hurricanes. And maybe
you broke them. Yeah, you broke them
in the process. And then maybe the signature win of the season on Thursday night in Colorado, followed up by a pretty gritty comeback win. Like, there's a lot of good things going on for the team right now. And, they're full marks and have absolutely earned their spot at the top of this division.
Yeah, they have, absolutely. And, tomorrow night, they'll take on the league's worst team in terms of record, but also, Huss, a team that's kind of red hot in the San Jose Sharks. So, that'll be an interesting test. Last night was a test as well of a different kind, not the same kind in Colorado. You're playing now teams here last night and tomorrow night that on paper you should beat. But again, we go back to past Jets teams. How many times did we say the Jets played down to their competition? And I don't think, even though they were down 2-0 early in that third period last night, I wouldn't say they were playing down to their competition. I just think the Jets, the shock of what happened to Kyle Connor, you saw that 5-minute power play, like they were discombobulated. They were lifeless. And I don't think it's because they weren't playing well. I just think they were out of sorts. But to their credit, they pushed and they did what needed to be done and they got the job done. So yeah, full marks, full credit to the Jets. And they'll obviously want to try and keep that going. But as I said, the foundation that they have this year, I think, is built to the point that it can withstand an individual loss, even of a star player or two. Just as the team didn't stumble when Gabe Vilardi went down, I expect that this team is, has the capability to do the same for however long Kyle Connor might be out. And I should just throw one other thing in there, Huss, when we're talking about how the Jets might handle this. I do wonder out loud as I say this, and I wrote about this yesterday as well, prior to Kyle Connor getting hurt. The Jets are scouting the Philadelphia Flyers really heavily right now, and vice versa. The Flyers had 2 people at the Jets game last night, including their senior advisor, Bob Murray. Kevin Cheveldayoff, as I reported on the weekend, altered his travel plans to stay in Denver for 2 extra days so that he could watch the Flyers in person play the Avalanche.
And with that, we lose Mike.
Mike just came in with some great info, and something happened to his phone.
Dropped it. Kevin Cheveldayoff. Well, that is interesting, and I know that's something that Connor touched on as well. And Connor's going to be joining us in just a couple minutes, talking about who might be the apple of Cheveldayoff's eyes when it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers. And the funny thing is, Dream, and I think we'd all agree that the target for the Jets most likely right now, based on where the team is at right now, would have been on the blue line. But I guess depending on what we hear from the team tomorrow, maybe they've also got a big need up in the top 6. Mike, we lost you just as you were talking about Kevin Cheveldayoff staying the extra day to spend a little bit of time focusing in on the Philadelphia Flyers.
That was so weird. I could still hear you guys. I just couldn't see you, and you obviously couldn't see me. Gremlins here in San Jose. I thought that was interesting. And then to see that the Flyers had some significant representation in Anaheim last night in Bob Murray, their senior advisor, and also one of their scouts. Who are they looking at? What are the Jets looking at? I speculated that certainly a defenseman, whether it's Sean Walker, who obviously has a lot of connections to Dave Velarde, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kapari. He's a former LA King, nice puck mover, and most importantly, a right-handed shot and a pending UFA. Nick Seeler, if the Jets were perhaps looking to add a little more bite to the back end. Another pending UFA, a Minnesota guy who's on a very low league minimum deal. But then I also wondered about a guy like Travis Konechny, who we know, Huss, the Jets have loved Travis Konechny forever. They tried to draft him in 2015, and they would have if the Flyers hadn't taken them one spot before Winnipeg was about to pick. That's the draft where they got Kyle Connor with their first pick, and then they took Jack Roslovic one pick after Travis Konechny. The Jets have long loved Travis Konechny, and of course there's a lot of rumblings that he could be potentially available out of Philadelphia as the Flyers try to expedite a rebuild. I would think you'd want to build around Travis Konechny. He's got another year on his deal at a very reasonable AAV. But if they don't feel they can lock him up long term, then obviously you look at moving him. The price points, whether it's Sean Walker, Nick Seeler, or Travis Konechny, obviously very, very, very different price points that we don't necessarily have to get into today. But it's notable to me, I'll put it that way, that these two teams are going out of their way in recent days to keep a close eye on each other. Does it mean something's brewing? No, not necessarily. GM scout teams all the time, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. And as we go forward here and ultimately move towards the March 8th trade deadline. The other snag here, Huss, the Flyers are actually playing really good hockey. And if you're Danny Briere, how much are you looking to sell if your team is in the hunt as they are right now? So, that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Mike, this has been awesome. Tomorrow, part of the reason why we did you today on kind of the day in between, you'll probably be at the rink while we are doing the show. Yeah. I guess we expect an update tomorrow after the morning skate from Rick Bowness as to the status of KFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And for viewers back in Winnipeg, the Jets don't even skate till it'll be 1:30 Central Time that they even hit the ice here in San Jose. By the time they get off and Rick Bowness speaks, it'll be like 2:30 Central Time when we do get an update. So, there'll be people holding their breath, crossing their fingers, what have you. As I say, hey, stranger things have happened, I suppose. And could Kyle Connor and the Jets dodge a bullet here? Yes, that's a possibility. But there's a lot of concern, and I think for good reason, about his status. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Well, I can tell you that we will be live on WST as we always are, and Remis will be refreshing. In fact, we're going to be turning on Mike McIntyre notifications.
All right.
Notifications are on tomorrow, and we, of course, appreciate the free press and you being there, being the one guy on the case throughout the season, and we'll cross our fingers. The prayer vigil will continue throughout the evening and into tomorrow, and we'll look forward to seeing what you've got for us before the Jets look to make it 5 in a row, in all likelihood, without their top leading goal scorer for the next little while, and we just hope it will be a little while and not a long while. Mike, great stuff. Enjoy the night in the Shark Tank. Tell them to improve the internet in San Jose.
Yeah, I can tell you the weather is pretty good here. I think it's about 21 degrees outside today, so no complaints about the weather. We'll see what the Wi-Fi, and isn't it ironic they complain about our Wi-Fi, and here I am struggling to even keep a connection with you guys. Pot meet kettle is what I have to say about that.
Have a good one, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Take care.
Hey, Mike, actually also a big wrestling fan. And AEW is coming to Winnipeg. And listen, we don't have all the details for this, but I can tell you that WST is going to be working with AEW to promote the event. And we already have a contest for tickets up right now on the website for Beat the Box Office. Now, we'll have full details for you tomorrow. We'll also, later on this week, be doing something on the show for Beat the Box Office tickets. But we're also planning on doing a contest where, much like we did with Lucas being the big winner and Remo and I hosting him in that Play Now Lounge for the game against Columbus, to join us in some prime seats. And we'll be looking for the biggest AEW fan in Winnipeg. So stay tuned to details to that. But in the right now, you can get over to winnipegsports.com and enter to win 2 tickets before they go on sale. All right, we are going to get into a little Monday Roundtable here in just a minute. Before we do that, I want to thank Princess Auto for the great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, of course, proudly Winnipeg, proudly Manitoban, and great supporters of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and WST. And Princess Auto is also the place where you'll find the best deals on the biggest assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Just in time for the holidays, get on down to one of their 2 Winnipeg locations, Panet Road or Portage Avenue West. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. We're going to talk a little NFL with Connor and Reem in just a second. We got a Monday night doubleheader. And I know there's a lot of fantasy seasons that are hanging on the line tonight. It's the Giants and Packers, Dolphins and Titans. Would have been nice if we could have flexed the games, flexed the opponents. So we could have had Green Bay and Miami and then could have relegated the Titans and the Giants, but that isn't the case. No better place to watch Monday Night Football than Boston Pizza. Win great prizes each and every Monday at your local BP and enjoy great specials, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, and of course, all those gourmet pizzas. And man, those pizzas were good from BP at the WST Christmas or holiday party last week. Make it Boston Pizza tonight for MNF, for tomorrow and Wednesday for the Winnipeg Jets. And if you are staying at home, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. And hey, the holidays are here. Not sure where you're at on your Christmas shopping, but if you, want to get the best in gifts for the sports fans in your circle, as well as save time, get on down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway and get it all done in one simple stop at Royal. Everybody knows Royal is the biggest store with the best selection, period, pretty much anywhere. Thousands of pieces of Winnipeg Jets merchandise, all the jerseys with your favorite players ready to go, all the newest merch from the Jets, not to mention tons of exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Great Bomber selection as well. NFL merchandise, Major League Baseball, NBA and the Raptors, international soccer, tons from the NHL outside the Winnipeg Jets, and of course the biggest and best hockey selection in town, not to mention all the cool gift ideas on the Kings skate, snow, and surf side. Get ready for the holidays at Royal Sports, open today, 750 Pembina Highway, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops, sale information, and great holiday gift ideas. All right, let's get Reem back in here. We're going to load up Connor. And by the way, shout out to Connor for getting after it right after last night's game, completing another great edition of Winnipeg Jets this week. It is up right now. It was there for you in the morning on the podcast feed. Hopefully many of you listened to it on the way to work. And it's also there if you missed it. Make sure to check it out on the YouTube channel as soon as we are done WST. Well, Mike didn't allow me to continue spin zoning myself into expecting minimal injury for Kyle Connor, Reem. But until we know, we don't know. And we'll have to wait until tomorrow towards the end of the show, I'd imagine, for an update.
Yeah, I mean, they'll come out and they'll say what happens, or maybe they'll say nothing. But yeah, tomorrow afternoon, so I'll have Mike's tweets on turn the notification on those. And, we're just kind of holding our breath here but great discussion on, what the lines might look like, what the team might look like. And if it's really long-term, does it change their plans at the trade deadline? So big.
Never mind the deadline. Now.
Yeah, or now, yeah, right. Yeah, fair. But big injury for the Jets. But I agree with Mike. I think they've shown that they can weather the storm, although it does going to hurt them. But, if it's pretty short, then you can figure it out.
Taking 40-plus goals out of the lineup is not an easy thing for any team to overcome, but it'll be a big opportunity for some, and it could be Morgan Barron, who obviously had a monster game last night and a big goal. All right, let's get Connor in here and get this started. Kind of Mondays with so much going on, and listen, I don't even know where we start. There's Jet stuff to talk about. There's the Ohtani fiasco. We are certainly going to get into the NFL. And listen, I've seen some of you haters in the chat with your terrible takes about the end of that Chiefs-Bills game. That will be addressed as well. If you do want to see a full-fledged, I don't want to say unhinged, but borderline Huss, check out today's Lock Shop. I threatened that I was going to told Matt Iwanek to have a body bag ready at Edmonton Sports Talk headquarters for Nielsen, who's turning into quite the Chiefs hater. But anyways, there's lots going on. But let's get Remo. Are we good with the three-way?
We got a three-way.
Perfect. Let's do it. And let's get the kid in here. Connor, what's going on? How are you?
Feeling good. Over all of this Jets roller coaster, top of the division, but Kyle Connor's hurt. My Niners just stay steady, winning.
They're rolling right now. And
oh yeah.
You should, if you were betting the Niners, I hope you did it early before they announced Geno Smith wasn't, and that line went from 11.5 to 14. And by the way, allow me to quickly Barry Horowitz myself. Lost in all of this Chiefs slander, Ohtani, the Jets. I did go 5-0 against the spread in the Lock Shop. You're welcome, folks. Another reason to tune in on Fridays for our big show. Hey, listen, before we get to the other topics, Connor, you're obviously all over the Jets for us, for the hockey writers. And you had a piece this week talking about the Philadelphia Flyers and some potential trade targets. Quickly touch on Walker, your thoughts on him, and if Kyle Connor is out long-term, and I hope we don't have to deal with that, thoughts on, whether you think the Jets, and I'm not necessarily saying right away, but might look to maybe make a forward addition at some point, maybe sooner as opposed to later, depending on the severity of the injury.
Yeah, I mean, on the forward topic, I mean, the blueprint of what I think they should do if, like you said, Kyle Connor's out for a long time, is what they did with Niederreiter last year. Just a second-round pick for a proven guy that can come in and play in your top six. Obviously, Niederreiter's on their third line now, but that move continues to be one of Cheveldayoff's best, and if he can somehow replicate something similar to that, that would be the move I'd be looking to do. And then if Kyle Connor misses a lot, if he misses 4 to 6 weeks, I think they'll be able to weather it, like you said earlier with Mike. But I don't think, I don't know. We'll wait and see till tomorrow. But that mid-round pick for a proven middle six guy is the type of move I'd be looking for right now. At the deadline, might come a little bit more clear on who's available. As for Sean Walker on the Flyers, I just think, I mean, Ville Heinola, the jury's still out on how good he's going to look coming back from this injury. Nate Schmidt hasn't been steady in that spot. I mean, he's been fine, but Logan Stanley's been in. Declan Chisholm got a few games. Heinola, it looked like the spot was for him, then he got hurt. Adding Sean Walker wouldn't cost as much as adding like a Chris Tanev, who's another defenseman that could be on the market come trade deadline time. And it would give them some stability there on that third pairing with Dylan Samberg, and maybe even up their minutes. Like Samberg has been sheltered basically his whole career as a Jet. Now with Walker, with a veteran, with some stability on that right side, maybe you can give him some tougher matchups. I just think it's a low risk move. It's another defenseman in that spot, and I think it makes the most sense if Ville Heinola doesn't look like himself coming back from this long absence.
Yeah, well, it'll all be real interesting when we get to first we got to find out what the issue is, with Connor, how long he's going to be out, and then take it from there. All right, Reem, Connor, we'll finish with NFL. I've kind of said my take a number of times on this Ohtani disaster. Remo, I know you mentioned that you just sort of chuckled when it happened, but honestly, to me, this is something that it absolutely sucks. And the disdain that it's quite obvious the baseball establishment has and the way they think about Canada and Toronto, I think really turns a lot of people off. But from a Jays perspective, how do they move on from this? And from a fan's perspective, Reem, how do people get, how damaging do you think this is to the Jays, just fan base, psyche, going into next season?
Yeah, when we talked last segment with Johnny, he kind of made a great point where he's like, hey, all these guys had terrible seasons. Alejandro Kirk, terrible. Guerrero, his numbers, really bad. Brutal. And you go on, and you're like, hey, they still won 89 games. And I think people got sick of watching them. Now, Ohtani, it was unfortunate how it went down. It is clear that, some reporting strung fans along. They intentionally use the Blue Jays as leverage to get a better deal. But I'm curious if they do look in and bring in Cody Bellinger. We didn't even mention his girlfriend posted on Instagram stories yesterday a picture of the CN Tower. I'm
not sure we should start going down these.
Where's his private jet? Where's his private jet?
Do we want to mention that, or are we just ignoring all? Do we need to take a break from rampant speculation on it? But I think they'll still be a good team, and they added the new playoff spots in baseball, so it's much easier to get in. It's not like the old days, where it was one team from each division plus the wild card. So I think the dust will settle, and I think you'll realize that they still have a decent team. They won't have Ohtani, but they probably need a bat, someone who can drive in all these runs. They don't strand so many guys, but their pitching has been very, very good. So I'll take a wait and see approach here. It's funny, but hockey free agency, July 1, everyone signs right away. Yeah. Baseball takes their sweet time. I don't know how it works like that.
It is really different. Connor, how did you see the whole roller coaster of emotions that went into the last week when it came to Jays fans and Ohtani?
Well, yeah, you guys had Jeff Feinberg on Friday, and he kind of said, there's a shift. The past 36 hours, we're allowed to get excited. And if I could go back and not get excited about it, because from the beginning, it was the Dodgers and Jays are finalists. And it was okay, maybe they really are a finalist, but I'm going to, it's obviously going to be the Dodgers. And then all of Friday with the fiasco on Twitter, the Morosi tweet, the tracking the plane that wasn't really him, it was some dude off of Shark Tank. It's just hilarious. And then obviously, of course, he goes to the Dodgers for the largest contract in North American sports history. It's unbelievable, and it was so predictable from the start, and I regret getting excited on the Friday.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, you're learning to be one of these big Jays. Who fill us in, aspiring journalist? Who are we supposed to trust? This is the second year in a row that a big-time member of the BBWAA has thrown out erroneous information, and this time to the point where it was boosted by Major League Baseball, boosted for Sportsnet. Like, I'm actually at the point where right now I'm blocking every other one of them except for Passan, and when Jeff Passan says it, okay, then it's real and we move on.
Yeah, Jeff Passan is the guy. If you want like a person to model your journalism career after, that's
non-fake news.
Yes, exactly. But no, the fact that he tweeted that out and the Major League Baseball posted it, Sportsnet boosted it, like you said, and it all turned out to be false. Like, is the conspiracy out there that the Dodgers leaked that, saying he was going to Toronto just to get them to like Ohtani to come back, and then we'll give you $700 million, so we're good to go? Like, I don't know. I think Morosi was clearly fed false information. Obviously, there was a source telling him Ohtani's on that plane, and he wasn't. But yeah, in today's day and age, everyone wants to be first, but you got to be right at the same time. And then it doesn't help that today, I don't know who reported it first, but Jacob Vrana was supposed to be on waivers according to a source, and then just wasn't. Elliot Friedman at 1:00 was like, Vrana's not on waivers, and everyone's like, what are we doing here? Like, we're just like saying things.
I heard it on the Merrick show today. They said, we're understanding Vrana's being put on waivers, and it didn't happen. Well, this certainly won't be the last we hear of the aftermath of all of this, and maybe it's good for Jays fans that this happened on the Saturday. As I tweeted, that sucked, but we'll always have that Friday. Man, that was fun. And now we move on to the rest of the offseason. It was incredible. I mean, it was. No matter what show you were watching, and I mean, we're not even in Toronto, but there's tons of Jays fans here. This is the market. They're a team that connects. And I think Canadian fans in general are really put off. I mean, you read these articles from Rosenthal and Heyman saying, like, basically, thank God he didn't go to Toronto. I mean, these guys can get bent. There's a lot of guys that can get bent right now, but maybe we're spending too much time talking about it as well. Okay, let's get to the NFL. Remo, you want to start off with the main event of the entire weekend?
Yeah, Raiders, Vikings, right?
Raiders, Vikings, exactly.
You know, NFL's got a big problem, Huswin. There's so many quarterback injuries this year, and you got two teams rocking backups, and you can't even get a point. And I saw someone say this in chat, like, people dump on the CFL, like this NFL, CFL haters. There's a lot of them out there. The NFL snobs dump on this. Like, look at that garbage that was served up. And the NFL, where there's so many injuries, Joe Flacco is coming in.
He's back and he's still elite.
At 38 years old, throwing for 300 yards and leading the Browns to a win. The NFL has got a major problem with lack of quality quarterbacks, and I never want to hear any of my friends who dump on me for liking the CFL ever again, because I'm going to point to that shitty game yesterday.
Force them to watch that game. We were laughing. Can you imagine, like,
3-0.
Tons of people travel to Vegas to see games. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people, it was probably their first time ever seeing an NFL game. They were all fired up, and
garbage.
They got that. And I was funny. I was out with the guys yesterday afternoon as we do watching the games. We've got the Sunday tickets, so we got the freaking Chargers and the Broncos over here and Niners over here, because I think everyone knew that they were going to crush them, although it was a little closer than a lot of people expected. But the big game with the sound, Chiefs Bills, but beside it was this Vikings Raiders game, and like throughout the first half, they were kind of looking over, and it's just incompletion, punt, 0-0, 0-0. And obviously the Chiefs-Bills game was wild. So, really focusing on that. And then I look over, and there's about 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And I'm like, this freaking game is still 0-0. And they pulled up a stat. Last time these teams had been in a scoreless game heading into the fourth quarter, the Vikings, it was 1971. And the Raiders, it had never happened before. And then the fourth quarter happened. And like a first down in that game felt like a touchdown. It was so bad. And then of course, Josh Dobbs finally mercifully got pulled. They put in Nick Mullins. They got, I think it was one nice play by Addison, a little bit of yak yards. They get in, they kick the field goal, and it's done. The lowest scoring game in NFL history in a domed stadium. But I guess for the Vikes, Connor, it's just another big win as they try to salvage their season and stay in the playoff hunt.
The Vikings win another one-score game. And by one score, I mean literally there was one score in the game. But yeah, oh my goodness, that was unbelievable game. I didn't watch it for a second. Obviously, the Niners were on at that time, so I was watching that. And then the Chiefs-Bills, like those were the two games I was flipping between. And then going into the Sunday night game, Jets game was starting. They do their Sunday night countdown where they roll through all the highlights of the games. And then you see them get to Raiders-Vikings, and it's just Greg Joseph kicking a field goal for the win. 3-0. The end of highlight Joseph. Package. Yeah, like, what? Yeah.
I see Schickster in chat just asking, wait, how did your field goal prop bet go, Huss? It went great. The Cowboys did it all on their own last night at the end after the Eagles got a couple. Huge win for Dallas. And Philly's going in the wrong direction right now. But yes, the field goal prop came in. Patty's primetime special came in. I was 5-0 on the week. I mean, it was with the exception of Dusty's Lions choking against the Bears and costing us the partner parlay. That would have been the immaculate lock shop week with everything winning. The Lions are on the suspended list. We had a tribunal for them today on the lock shop. They're suspended for the next 2 weeks and then allowed back on probation for the game against the Cowboys, where you can only bet the over. You can not bet the side of the Lions, just the over. That has been the determination. All right, let's get to Chiefs-Bills. I'll let you guys go first. Remis, we all saw the robbery of maybe what would have been an all-time play that is remembered for years. Kelsey, the lateral to Kadarius Toney, which would have taken the lead in the last 2 minutes, called off by the offside penalty, offensive offside penalty. Your take.
Okay, you said offside. My take is, and I saw someone tweet this, I'm sick of people calling it offsides. If it's one instant, he was offside. Correct?
I don't care. Either way, there was a flag, and it robbed us of
my take,
greatness.
Yeah, it was greatness. He was definitely lined up offside. It sucks. I think Patrick Mahomes, his frustration is he is sick of throwing to these dummies that he throws the ball at their hands and they can't catch it. I think he blew up at the game, but it was just a game of frustration. How many times can he hit these guys in the hands and have them drop it? So it's just another when they're not, dropping the ball, they're lining up in the neutral zone. So sucks. It was a great play, but you got to call it by the rules. And Tony's a dummy. Can't catch the ball. He can't even line up in the right spot. It seems to be pretty easy us to line up behind the ball. So I know that it hurts to have some calls finally go against the Chiefs. And there was a big one yesterday.
Listen, between this and the dummies feeding it to me in the chat right now, this is going to be table flipping time. Connor, how do they call that? How is that called?
Well, this is my take. A lot of people online are saying, well, yeah, the call takes away greatness. And I would like, and it does. True. But the ref, Tony's lined up offside, and the ref throws the flag at the time of the snap. The ref doesn't know that Kelsey's going to catch the ball, lateral it to Tony, and they're going to walk in for a touchdown. So, like Mahomes after the game was like, oh, I don't know how you can take away greatness like that, which I completely disagree with, because the ref was just calling a neutral zone infraction. He didn't know that this incredible, like, once-in-a-lifetime play was going to happen. But yeah, just the outrage. Kadarius Toney, if he was, I don't know, replaced with like a league average receiver, the Chiefs would probably be 10-3 right now. If he just lined up in the neutral zone and then back in week 1 caught the pass that hit him right in the hands that the Lions took for a pick six.
Listen, if Kadarius Toney played DB in week 1 and literally every pass that went to him just batted it down, they beat the Lions. He dropped everything with the exception of one of his drops. He basically acted like a libero and did a nice little pop-up volleyball play, which got taken for a pick six. Okay, here's what everyone that are haters that just are jumping on right now. Well, let me ask you this. How many times do you think that play was called the offensive player offside? How many times last year in the entire season you think that was called?
Probably because players aren't that dumb to line up in front of the ball. How many times? Was it 20 this year?
But anyways,
was it 20 this year?
No. It's 11 this year.
Okay.
Last year it was 2. The year before it's 1. Mahomes said it has never been called ever in a game. Like, he's never seen that before. Andy Reid as well. Been around for a few games. Receivers go to the line and check with the referees. And they tell them, hey, you're off the guide. That's why that never gets called. It is taken care of beforehand. Not only did Tony do that, 2 CBS reporters said that he had pointed twice to the referee. Dan Orlovsky, who is one of the brightest minds, like, no one's debating that he ended up being a little bit offside. But he goes, did Tony check with the official if he was legal? If not, it's a flag. If not, why would he not? And then also, unless you've warned him and the offense about this beforehand, you cannot and do not throw this flag. And that is why Mahomes and that is why Andy Reid were so pissed off. And let's face it, I know there's a lot of people that, hey, listen, when you're this good and this successful, people want to take shots at you. It's the same why all these people want to give Taylor Swift a hard time, because she's the most successful artist maybe ever and basically runs the world. That's Mahomes and Andy Reid in the NFL. So a lot of people want to take them down. But that play is just not called. It is warned in every occasion. And that's why it had been called 3 times in the last 2 years. And if I'm a little triggered, forgive me. I also saw Tom Brady get a free pass into the Super Bowl in Arrowhead Stadium in 2019 with the D Ford lining up offside. That's a little different, though. That is defensive, and that will be called every now and then when guys do though. It doesn't get called in the offense. So to me, Remis, Connor, this is a lot of jealousy. This is a lot of people trying to take shots, and a very legitimately frustrated Mahomes and Andy Reid deserve better. Football fans deserve better. The National Football League deserve better than what transpired yesterday at Arrowhead Stadium.
I mean, sure. We know what side you're on. Kind of, it's one of those rules that it's in the rule book, but maybe doesn't get called. It's just too bad that the Chiefs don't have a guy who can catch the ball. And if they did, they would probably have a much better. We can all
agree on that.
They would probably have a much better record. And I think that's where your frustration should be, not at this. And I think that's why Mahomes finally lost it at the end, because he's making all the plays, but can't catch a break.
Connor, the funniest thing about this all, and again, I will give you all this. The fact that Tony actually caught the pass from Kelsey to make the play.
Oh, man. He finally did it. He finally caught a pass, and it all came back because of him.
Hey, so your Niners are rolling right now. Looking very, very good. Obviously, now on top of the NFC, thanks to the Cowboys beating the Eagles. And they both have convincing wins over Dallas and over Philadelphia. I think Detroit's kind of exposing themselves as a playoff team, but not even close to the caliber of any of those 3 teams, to be perfectly honest. With your Niner hat on, who gives you the most concern? I mean, looking at the playoffs, as far as the Niners' path to the Super Bowl, is there one team that, I'm sure you're confident against all of them based on what we've seen right now, but is there one team of them all that you think that might be our toughest test?
So, yeah, the Niners proved that they can beat Philly regardless of, it was in Philly. So it wasn't like, the Niners were at home, they had all the momentum or whatever, but it's Dallas for the reason that their home, the way they play at home is just different from the way they play on the road. They look like the best team in the NFL when they're at Jerry World. And then they'll go on the road, and they lost to the Eagles on the road in a close game. Like, they had it shot in the red zone at the end. And then they come home and it wasn't even close. That game was 30-13 at one point, I'm pretty sure. The Jets game was on, so I was flipping back and forth. But Dallas is just, they at home, if they get the 1 seed and they get that first round bye and every game has to go through Jerry World, I think Dallas gives me, it makes me the most nervous. But if the Niners, they're in the 1 seed right now. So if they can just win out, get the 1 seed, I like their odds against anyone. Obviously, as I sit here with my hat on, but yeah, biased. Yeah, I like the Niners odds against anyone.
And I mean, who the Niners have, they do have a tough game against the Ravens, but again, it's at home. They're at the Cardinals, home to the Ravens, at the Commanders, and then home to the Rams in that final game.
That Ravens game is Christmas Day, Monday night.
Nice.
And oh yeah, I can't wait.
Get
all my Christmas dinner out of the way.
Let's do dinner at 4, please.
Home by 7.
Do
home
that.
by 7. Yeah.
Exactly. Reem, I don't know if you caught that Rams Raven game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the Rams had a glorious opportunity. First of all, to win the game in regulation. They didn't. They kicked the field goal. Then they get a 3-and-out right off the start of overtime, get the ball back, and had the opportunity to win the game with a field goal. Took a delay of game penalty coming out of a timeout. Ended up turning it over, and Lamar Jackson didn't even need to pick the ball up because they returned the punt for a touchdown. Devastating loss for the Rams. But now with this Chiefs loss yesterday, it seems it's probably going to be a 2-horse race for the 1 seed in the AFC. And funny enough, it's the Ravens and the Miami Dolphins who we'll see tonight on Monday Night Football. And those two teams, if I am not mistaken, play in week 17 in Miami, which could very well be for the AFC. Any thoughts on the Ravens or Dolphins and inside track, knowing that the Ravens do have to go to San Francisco the week before?
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens here. I don't think the Dolphins, they've got Tyreek Hill, this explosive offense, but they haven't really beat anyone. The Ravens are the team that's been knocking at the door for so many years. Always great in the regular season, but now with the Chiefs, falling back to 8-4, and the Ravens are 10-3. It's their chance to get first seed in the AFC and their chance to have that advantage. And look, their playoff performances the last couple of years haven't been good, but I think this is going to be their best chance to go to a Super Bowl. The Dolphins, they're very good, but again, they haven't beaten some of these playoff teams. They've beaten up on a lot of bad teams, so I'm going with the Ravens here. Would be my pick in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, it's his time right now, Huss, and they finally have some talent that he can throw the ball to. I know Mark Andrews out, but you picked up Isaiah Likely for fantasy. You did pretty well, and Odell Beckham Jr., is he back now with almost 100 yards yesterday? And seems like whoever they put in at running back is able to run, and you have Lamar Jackson too. So I'm more in on the Ravens and then the Dolphins.
We'll see the Dolphins tonight. In fact, we'll get to we'll do the Coolbet lines with the three of us in just a minute. But I have a proclamation to make coming out of yesterday's game at Arrowhead Stadium. And Remo, feel free to clip this for use in about 2 months. I hope everybody enjoyed what happened yesterday at Arrowhead, because guess what? That's the last time you're going to see the Kansas City Chiefs lose this season until potentially the Super Bowl. They are going to roll through these next 4 games. They're going to win the AFC again. I'm not willing to say that they're going to definitely, because I think your Niners are the best team, and I don't think there's really a question about that. But again, many people thought that the first time they played in the Super Bowl, and we know what Mahomes did coming down from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter.
Don't remind me.
But mark this down, people. If you are a Chiefs hater, of which there are many, PVR that game. It'll be on NFL Network again later on. You can get that thing in PVR, and remember that. Because for all of you announcing the demise of Mahomes and Andy Reid, I'm here to tell you different. 4 in a row, and then another AFC Championship game. And on February 11th, you're going to be watching Mahomes in another Super Bowl. How you like that?
You're just trying to manifest all your futures bets, Huss?
No, you know what? It's funny. I don't have a lot of futures bets right now because they were such a big favorite. However, like I said in the lock shop, and this is a good little segue into the Coolbet lines, I can't wait till the futures come out tomorrow because I think for the first time, we're going to actually be getting some really good value on the Chiefs. They were still the favorite in the AFC last week going in. And I think part of that was because of their schedule, and knowing that there's a tough game for Miami against the Ravens. The Ravens have the Dolphins and the Niners. The path was there to once again have the Arrowhead Invitational, which is the annual AFC Championship game in Kansas City. That doesn't look like that will be the case. We're going to get a chance to see Mahomes play a road playoff game for the first time ever, in all likelihood at some point. But I still believe in the guys' waiters. Huss is losing it. Huss is going to lose his marbles. Not happening, Huss. See, you know what? You know what the good thing is? Not only can we clip that, but all of these comments from you guys are going to be in here. And I'm going to be the one telling you I told you so on January 29th, off the top of Monday's show, as well as talking about a big win over the Leafs for the Jets.
I'll say this, the OC for the Chiefs the last couple of years, Eric Bieniemy, he's now with Washington, but this year they got former Bears head coach Matt Nagy. How much do you blame Matt Nagy for Mahomes' downfall this year? Because he's not putting up these crazy statistical numbers anymore. How much on the receivers? How much?
Listen, Nagy every now and then, outthinks himself and galaxy brains into some dumb play on like 3rd and short or 4th and short. But overall, it's the personnel at receiver and the fact that these guys often just plain and simple can't catch. And being able to catch is an important skill when playing wide receiver in the National Football League. And I don't know. They're not reliable right now. I know Andy said, they're sticking with Kadarius. They have no other options right now. I'd be stunned if he was on the team next year. But I think everyone could agree Pat Mahomes deserves better with what he's getting right now from that unit. All right, let's get to these lines tonight. We got doubleheader in Monday Night Football. And as we mentioned, it is the Dolphins at home against the Tennessee Titans. This line is now 14. It was like 12. It was 12.5. It was 13, 13.5. Now it's 14. Remo, that's a big, big number. But I think if you look at what Miami's done so far this year, especially at home, they really have made mincemeat out of a lot of teams that are not quite in their league. Although I guess their last home game was a little closer, 2013 against the Raiders. And before that, 31-17 against the Patriots. I still have a hard time laying 14 on anybody at home, even if they're playing Tennessee. And it is Derrick Henry December. So he'll probably get a touchdown at some point.
Yeah, Derrick Henry looks like he's lost a step, and it's kind of sad to see because he used to just bull guys over. And I know it's, dehember is the term, but it's hard. It's also hard to run the ball when you don't have a good quarterback and you're behind all the time. But you look at some of their wins, Huss. They are winning. They beat the Panthers by 21, beat up on the Giants, beat up on the Jets. The Raiders game was close. They smacked around the Commanders last week. So when they win,
70 on the Broncos.
Yeah. 70. So when they win, Tyreek Hill is catching the ball for former Chief Tyreek Hill. They could really use a guy like him right now. He's catching the ball for 200 yards a game.
I hear that all the time. Might I remind you that they won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill last year?
I agree.
Mix a couple catches in, and the team's probably in a better spot.
I think that's hard to throw down, but I definitely could see them throwing down on Tennessee. So you can throw the ball on them. So wouldn't shock me if it was minus 14.
The total's 45 in this game, and that's actually come down since we did the lock shop earlier today at 46. But Connor, if you had a lean, whether it was on the spread at 14 on either side or the total at 45, where are you going?
I mean, I think the over, like any game with the Dolphins in it, the over seems pretty enticing. Like 45, would any of us be shocked if the Dolphins themselves put up 45 points tonight? Like, I don't think so. So obviously, like, Vegas knows. I stay away from stuff like this. Vegas knows much better than I do. But again, the Dolphins could easily just put up 40 points by themselves because they have Tyreek Hill. They have Raheem Mostert, who's having a great year at 31 years old. Tua's playing great. Rookie running back Devon Aitken. They just have so many track stars on their offense, and they could just run up the score.
Well, speaking of Tyreek Hill, I will point you out to a couple things. His receiving total for this game tonight is 109.5, and it's minus 118 to the over, which seems like a crazy, crazy number, and it is. I will be on that over tonight. Because if there's one thing the Dolphins are doing, and it's very clear, they're giving Tyreek every chance to potentially get into the MVP conversation if there's not a quarterback that runs away with it, which there haven't been at this point. But I think they also believe that there's a chance that he could break the record for receiving yards in a season. And for a game like tonight, let's not forget it's a 17-game season right now. What I think they would love to do is have him do that and do it in 16 games. So there's no asterisks at all about the extra week of the season. So I think Tyreek's going to get it all night long. I'm on the over 109.5, and I'm also going to jump on him at 4-1 on first touchdown scorer tonight because I wouldn't be surprised, Connor, if he goes in early and often.
Yeah, I remember looking last week, and his receiving yard line was, I think, 101.5, and it was against Washington, which is a great matchup for wide receivers. And you think, wow, like 100 yards, like that's a lot of yards to bet on a guy to get. But then he had, I think, 170. I think the first drive of the game, he scored like a 75-yard touchdown. So you're already 3/4 of the way there on that prop. Yeah, Tyreek Hill, one of the most electric players in the league. You brought up the MVP race. My take on the MVP race is that no one should be, none of the quarterbacks, should be MVP. And it should be between Hill and McCaffrey if the NFL was, smart. But Purdy's the MVP leader in odds. I think McCaffrey is more valuable to the Niners than Purdy has been. But it's a quarterback award, I guess. And if Tyreek Hill goes over 2,000 yards, I think he should win it.
How about we give McCaffrey the MVP and I can cash my 70-1 preseason ticket and Tyreek Hill can be offensive player of the year and all the quarterbacks can go for what really counts, and that's winning in the playoffs and winning the championship. So there's your Dolphins-Titans game. And crazy, we got 2 games tonight, as we mentioned, Packers and Giants. The Packers are a 6-point favorite. The total is 37 in this game. Jordan Love versus touchdown Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets, exactly. No Christian Watson in this game, Reem. And I'm kind of looking, if I was looking at a prop, I like this Jaden Reed number at 44.5. And I don't mind the Romeo Dobbs number at 43.5 as well. And while we're at it, tight end Tucker Kraft, 29.5. Like, I just think without Watson, Jordan Love looked so good last week against a very good Chiefs defense. He's going to be playing against, a step down. We know the running game, there's been lots of injuries in the backfield. Like, I kind of think that there's some real value with these Packer receiver numbers with Christian Watson out.
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. And Aaron Jones has been out with a hamstring injury like all season. And I know fantasy owners are frustrated. They've gone with A.J. Dillon, who's been pretty ineffective. I'm curious what Jordan Love are we going to see? Are we going to see the Jordan Love from last week who put it all together? We're going to see a different one. And as for Jaden Reed, the over-under set at 44.5. Well, you look at his last 4 weeks here. Last week, 48 yards on 2 catches, 37 yards on 4, 63 yards on 3, 55 yards on 3. So look, if he catches on 1 or 2, he could certainly pass that. He's going to have an expanded role. I don't mind hitting the over, although it is really minus 120 there on the over. So not bad. But yeah, I'm in for a little Jaden Reed.
Yeah, no doubt. I see Craig Smith being the historian he is. Former Bomber quarterback Tom Clevens loves quarterbacks coach, waiters. What is love? Well, what is love in this case is the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. It's all there at Coolbet, and we actually did cook up a couple exclusives for the game tonight. Let's check them out. You go to exclusives, lock shop partner parlay. Okay, so the one we have for the Titans-Dolphins game is over 45.5. Tyreek Hill, 110 receiving yards, and Dusty Witt with a Devon Shane anytime touchdown. That one is plus 625. We've got one for the Giants game as well. It's Saquon Barkley, 70 or more rushing yards. Jaden Reed, 48 plus receiving yards. And Tucker Kraft, 29 plus receiving yards. That one is plus 650. And I got to give a shout out to Patty Primetime. Did it again last night with the field goals, as well as he had Micah Parsons sack and Devontae Smith, 50 or more rushing yards. So that one cashed. He's got another one. Green Bay, New York, over 3.5 field goals. Kayvon Thibodeau and Bradley Chubb both to record a sack tonight. That is plus 575. So there, it's all there for you at Coolbet. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST, and we'll hook you up with a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Who you like tonight, Reem?
I'll go with the Packers. I don't think they're very good. I'll take on touchdown. Yeah, I'll still take the Packers, and I'll take the two favorites. Sorry, I know it's a chalk pick, but man, some of these teams, Huss, in the NFL, we talked about bad quarterbacking. You're seeing two teams with their second choice. Tommy DeVito with the Giants. I know he got it done last week. And Tennessee, Will Levis. So I got to go with the favorites. There's too many bad quarterbacks, and that's kind of the theme of this season. A lot of injuries, like every team going through it. And the two teams that are favored have, interestingly enough, Huss, the line here just moved to minus 5.5 for the Packers.
Whoa.
Literally a second ago.
Little bit of steam coming in on the Giants. Interesting. We'll pay attention at that. Hey, Connor, great having you back on. As I mentioned, the new Jets this week is out. Shout out to you for getting that done after the game last night. But there's probably a lot of people that have not checked it out yet. Previous episodes or this one, give people a little bit of plug about the work you've been doing to add to the WST content coming out after a big week. It probably was pretty fun, with the exception of the injury to Kyle Connor, doing Jets this week, talking about what this team's been doing lately.
Yeah, it's been great. We're 7 episodes in. Did it last night, posted this morning for podcast, your drive to work, whatever the case may be. And it was a good week for the Jets. They went 3-0 against Carolina, Colorado, and Anaheim. Obviously, it ends with the Kyle Connor injury, but it was a really fun episode to record. As always, handed out my hardest working Jet of the week and the 3 stars of the week. I'll tell you right now, the guy that's injured, Kyle Connor, I've named the award after him at this point because he just keeps scoring and I can't leave him off the first star of the week. So he won it again. But yeah, go check it out to see the rest of the awards. It was a fun episode. Stayed up late to do it, but it was worth it. Yeah, great week in Jetsland, and I'm having a blast doing it. So go check it out.
No, you're doing a great job on it. Thanks again. And I will say, let's just hope, again, we continue our prayer vigil up until Mike tweets tomorrow. Let's hope that first star award does not become the Kyle Connor Memorial Award, and he will be back at some point soon for the Winnipeg Jets because the team needs him. But Reem, I think, one of the things that came out of it, listen, if you've been paying attention to this team all season long, you know that they've won games in a lot of different ways. And the one thing that Mike said that I think is important to remember, everyone's had a piece. Connor's had an amazing season right now, but it's not like they've only been winning games because he's been lighting the lamp. And like we saw with Morgan Barron last night, there's a lot of guys that have been playing in roles that I think they're showing they're ready for a little bit more opportunity. And with injury to someone comes opportunity elsewhere. And I think there's a lot of members of the Winnipeg Jets that are looking forward to that opportunity to do what they can do to help this team stay where they're at right now in the standings, despite 81 not being in the lineup for a while.
Yeah, and they also have Connor Hellebuyck, one of the best goalies. Remember him? So
the guy.
So he's pretty good. Last time I checked, he's pretty good. So I think it definitely sucks and not ideal, but they have a lot of depth. They're playing the lines evenly. Team defense has been pretty good, and they have one of the top goalies in the league. So I think they'll be able to weather the storm. Hopefully, it's not a season ender.
Oh God, I don't even want to think about that. Just quickly, what do we got tonight in the NHL?
3 games.
We've got 1, 2, 3. We got 4 games tonight.
4 games.
Arizona at Buffalo. Buffalo's a -130 fave. The Leafs are on Long Island. Take the Islanders. Leafs -118. Islanders +101. Red Wings at Stars. Go Detroit, go. And that would mean the Jets. The Stars have played even amount of games with the Jets, but could leapfrog them by 1 point, although the Jets would have a game in hand going into San Jose tomorrow. And then the final game, the Avalanche, after dropping 2 straight at home, look to get back in the win column against the Calgary Flames. I think they've hit the puck line in 5 of 6 against Calgary in Colorado, and I have a feeling Jared Bender's team's going to be a little ornery considering what happened against the Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers. These shows, we could do another hour, no problem right now. However, we do have podcast listeners that are probably going, where the hell is WST? I want to hear Huss melt down about what happened in the Chiefs game last night. We got to hear about what's up with Kyle Connor and all of that. So we will take a time out right now and finish up the program. Don't forget, go to the website for AEW ticket information to enter to win. Tickets are coming on sale this weekend. We'll have full details tomorrow on the pre-sale and the sale. And stay tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk for more chances to win. Tickets to AEW, as well as some prime seats to hang with us for the big event on April 10th as the Golden Jets, Winnipeggers Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, come back to the Peg along with the stars of AEW Wrestling. Should be a lot of fun. Big thanks to Johnny Giunta, who was awesome today on the program, as well as Mike McIntyre, Connor Hrabchak. Make sure you check out Jets This Week if you haven't already. He's doing an awesome job on it. That's there for you Monday mornings on Winnipeg Sports Talk coming out of the weekend. And join us tomorrow for a game day edition of WST. We'll be refreshing Mike's tweets from San Jose. We'll discuss that, as well as a couple more big games on the road as the Jets look to push their winning streak to 5 and stay on top of the Central Division. Thanks to everyone that joined us today in the chat, even those of you that were giving me the brain damage I'll show about Mahomes. And thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Enjoy a Monday Night Football doubleheader and the Pucks tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.